Okay, the meeting is now recording. All right. So we have had a request to amend the agenda. Can someone please make that motion? Seth, I think that has come from a couple of different people, but also from you.
Sure, I'll make the motion, Sandy.
Thank you, Sandy. And the specific motion is to amend the agenda to do what?
Add the Connecticut State draft resolution on course caps and hiding courses at Naugatuck Valley. So
Okay. All those in favor of amending the agenda, please vote now. Please raise your hand. Please raise your hand.
Do you guys hear a beeping?
My guess is you're getting notified every time a participant enters the room. You have to change your notifications for that.
If I may, I'm sorry, there are people on the call who are not senators who are voting, so can we fix that? This is Roberta.
Senators, this is Nicola. Can you please edit your name to have Senator or SEN in front of your name for voting purposes, please?
Do we have a majority for accepting the agenda?
Yeah, we have 24 folks is my count.
Well, I'm still seeing people voting without being a senator, or am I mistaken?
Yes, I tried to put senator in front of my name. I haven't been able to do it yet, so I'm still working on it. But I vote to amend the agenda.
So of the folks that don't have SEN in front of their names, Norley is a senator. Asantwa is a senator. I don't know if I said your name properly. Dawson is a senator.
I'm just adjusting on changing my name, Al. I'm a senator. Thank you.
Thank you. So I don't see anyone voting who isn't a senator. So John, what is our total to support changing the agenda, modifying the agenda?
22.
22. Okay. Please lower your hands. Very good. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed to modifying the agenda? Please raise your hand. There is no opposition. Any abstentions? John abstains. One abstention. Thank you. So modifying the agenda passes. Thank you for that, folks. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with my opening remarks, and I want to begin by acknowledging that this is an extraordinary agenda that we have before us today. I think that the agenda reflects a couple of different things that we are grappling with. One is issues that were tabled or need redress from May and September, as well as the issues raised by senators. But the other thing that our agenda really makes clear is that we need to establish better and different ways to do the work of shared governance. And that is both preparing for our meetings, but running our meetings. And we're going to address some of that today. So we are simultaneously today tasked with addressing critical issues that have been brought to our attention as recently as yesterday, as well as the functionality of our meetings. For the agenda, or for the record, I want to remind folks that just because a senator sponsors an agenda item, it doesn't mean that that senator alone brought it to our attention. Oftentimes, multiple folks bring an issue to our attention. However, when we are trying to allot time and identify who will be the first to speak, we do that based on who brought it to our attention first. So just because someone's name is indicated on the agenda does not mean that they are the only one who brought it to our attention. As we are working through our business today, I have a really big ask. I said this in our email, but I'm going to make it verbal as well. As items are brought to our attention, as they are brought to the floor, I am asking folks to really respect the time that we have allotted. It is not enough. We know that. But also that to respect or to support positions that have been made with your vote. In other words, please don't reiterate a point that was already made. Take the time to raise additional issues, but allow this items to progress to a vote as quickly as possible. This will actually allow us to claw back some additional time for those items of new business. Also, I want to share with you that I have been advocating for the Senate during President Meduco's Leadership Council. And one of those ways I have been advocating for you to have the time and the opportunity to do this work is asking asking CEOs to meet with you and see how they can support your work. So we have 38 sitting senators, and only 11 have been contacted and offered support for doing this work. So I'm just bringing to light that this is something that we are still working on, but we are in fact working on it. Thank you, Nick. The other thing that I want to share with you is we are making progress on capturing the hours necessary for service on statewide Senate. And we are also working to define that process, how we do it, so that it is implemented fairly and accurately at all 12 teaching campuses as well as New Britain. We hope in the next week or two to be able to share some information with you and get your feedback and input. So I will also remind you that if you haven't already done so, please remember to add SEN to your WebEx handle so that that will facilitate and expedite calling on members during Senate discussion, but also on voting. Thank you all for the work that you are doing. A lot of what we are doing is new. We are used to representing our campuses, but what we are now trying to do is also consider our campuses as we advocate from a statewide Senate perspective. And to that degree, some of what we are doing is new. So thank you for the service that you are providing to CT state governance. And with that, I will ask if there is a motion to approve the September minutes.
Motion to approve the September minutes.
Thank you.
Need a
I'll
name.
second.
I need a name. Please, when you're doing something, say your last name.
Cullinane.
Roberta will second.
Okay, thank you, folks. Any discussion or edits to the minutes? Very good. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please raise your hand. All those in favor of approving the minutes. Waiting on a few more hands. John, how many folks support adopting the minute, approve the minutes? John, how many folks approve adopting?
34. Sorry, I didn't realize the meeting. 34.
34. Okay, very good. Folks, if you could lower your hands. Just a few more hands. 3 more hands. We're waiting for 3 more hands to go down. 2 more hands. Just 1 more person, and then we're going to move. Bonnie Sullivan, are you voting against adoption? Okay, Mark, are you voting against adoption? Okay, there we go. All of those opposed to adopting the minutes, please raise your hand. All those opposed. We have no opposition. Any abstentions? We have 2 abstentions. Any other abstentions? And 2 abstentions. Thank you, folks. If you could lower your hands. Our next item on the agenda is President Meduco. Dr. Meduco, are you here? President Meduco?
Al, I know he's here at Gateway for a function. He may be running late. Bonnie and I were at the same function. So but he did say he was planning to be here.
Okay.
I'd suggest moving on and returning to him.
Okay. So we can go on, unless there is an objection, we can go on to what will hopefully be a relatively quick ask from Curriculum Congress. Are there any objections to moving on and then returning to President Meduco when he comes in? Are there any objections? Okay, thank you. So less a report from Curriculum Congress and more than ask. Curriculum Congress is commissioning a task force on DEI issues. And in talking with Jason Seabury, last week, he asked if there were any senators who are interested in serving on this task force. So this is a joint task force of Curriculum Congress and Senate. Is there anyone interested in serving on the DEI task force with Curriculum Congress? If you could drop your name in the chat so that we can capture that. Excellent. Thank you, folks. Good. So we have Angelo, Bonnie, Miguel, Hannelmore, Asanta.
Yeah. Hannah is good.
Thank you. And Sarah. Any others interested?
I actually have a question. I'm not raising my hand because I'm volunteering.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Angelo.
If I may, I'm a 4Cs member, and as you may know, we cannot exceed a certain amount of credits in our workload. Would this task force earn us credit, or is this credit free in a way?
I don't know what you're asking about credits, Angelo.
Well, because I'm a member of this committee, for example, I get one credit towards my workload. Most member of other BR committees, I'm getting credit for that too. And so that adds up to my 21 credits. So I cannot exceed 21. So would the volunteer of the task force exceeding my allowed credit or not?
So this will fall under, and you would want to consider your participation on this task force along with any other committee work you might want to do for statewide governance. It would need to fall under those hours. We are currently working, this is part of what I was talking about related to working with management to quantify the number of hours that folks should be given to work on statewide governance issues. We are working on codifying and quantifying that. And that is something that we hope to have more information for you in the next week to 10 days. It will be sent out via email.
Okay,
But any work that you would volunteer for related to Senate should fall under your Senate hours.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. Never because I'm doing.
All right. I think we captured those. If someone else is interested in serving, you can reach out to anyone on the Executive Council and we will share your names with Jason Seabury from Curriculum Congress. Angelo, did you have another question? If not, if you could put your hand down. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. If there aren't any objections, I'm going to go on to old business with the expectation that we will still return to President Maduka when he returns. Are there any objections to that? Okay, very good. Thank you. So under old business, following up from our May meeting, I would like to address course capacity from HCC, and that is coming from, please help me say your name so that I can say it properly for the rest of our meeting.
Asantwa.
Asantwa, thank you.
No
The
problem.
floor is yours, ma'am.
Okay, hold on. If I want to share this, we had a resolution we passed in the spring about course capacities, and I had it open. Of course, it's not open right this second. Give me one. I'm trying to find it.
Do you want me to open that for you?
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Sorry.
Give me just a second, but if you want to start speaking to it, I will certainly bring that up for you.
Okay. So it was with the resolution basically was that CT State had decided to increase course capacities without consulting faculty. And so we have several faculty who teach courses that are already at a cap of 25 and they teach a 5 load. And so if by adding 5 additional students to their courses, that essentially is adding another section to their classes. And I think this is coming up again now with Naugatuck Valley's issue. And so our resolution, as Elle brings it up, is just asking that course capacity be reassessed, designed to place students first, determined through consensus between the system office, the school area curriculum committees, and the CT State Curriculum Congress. So yeah, I don't know if it's showing it. Okay, there it goes.
All right, thank you for that introduction. So are you asking for a motion or can
Yes,
you
so
make
we're
a
motioning
motion?
just for the Senate to support this resolution, to endorse it. I'm not sure if it went through to the Curriculum Congress. Honestly, it's been months, so I'm not sure if it went through there as of yet.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So I'm going to stop. Ooh, here we go. Here comes a challenge. I don't want to stop sharing. but I do want to see hands. So I see Mike Stefanowitz. Mike, we can't hear you.
Thank you, Al. One piece of background, it talks about an increase in course caps. For some campuses, that was true. However, for other campuses, there was a decrease in course caps. So the project was making them consistent within a discipline statewide. I would also ask that it talks about the system office in the resolution. Just want to be clear, there's no Connecticut State leadership at the system office. System office is in Hartford with Chancellor Cheng and the system provost. So I don't know if the body wishes to refer to the college office as opposed to system. I know this passed as system, but I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other folks who want to speak to this issue? Seth?
So I support amending it to say college office instead, if that's agreeable to the group. And then not that I support it. I would just ask if we wanted to is this that Housatonic? Oh no, that's fine. As it's written, I support it. Oh, with the change, I support it.
I am looking for system office. Somebody help me. Sorry.
Last paragraph, be resolved. Right by your cursor.
So here, is it permissible for me to say, what edit are we making here, folks?
Replace system with college.
Apparently, well, this isn't going well for me. Does anybody have a better way to do this?
You do really good.
I love this way, Al. You know, I can keep you. We added all of it like this. This is great. Perfect.
All right, I have saved that change. Any other, let's see, is it Sarah? Am I seeing your hand, Sarah?
Yes, quick question. Just want to confirm that supporting this would apply to all campuses and not just the campus that it originated from.
Yeah, this does not seem to be Naugatuck Valley specific. This is asking for uniformity.
Okay, thank you.
Mark?
Let's we have Senator Allen first.
Oh, okay, Alan?
Thanks, Al. So I know that there's been this email going back that Seth originated about Naugatuck Valley and in particular online course capacity. And so I wondered if there was a way to, if we wanted to amend or piggyback some discussion of that with endorsement of this resolution. Or is that going to be taken up as a separate agenda item, or is it, that's my question.
I think that's a good question. Seth's hand is up, so I'm going to call on Seth and then Sarah Perez.
I actually just had a question about this resolution, and I'm not sure that faculty at the campus levels and like department chairs are, it appears that the decisions, the goal from this resolution is to have these decisions being made by college office, SAC, and Curriculum Congress, but I just don't know if we want to leave more room for and faculty more generally, because I think this might be read by faculty, department chairs at the campus level, that we're kind of just saying that these decisions should be just made by the shared governance bodies.
Okay, Sarah Perez, and then Roberta and Hannah.
Yeah, I I was thinking like, because this does cover in general, right? And I was seeing the emails go back and forth on just Naugatuck Valley specifically. And I am wondering if there's a way to add in the online course piece. And then, like Seth was saying, the department in combination with the department chairs as well, and the disciplines.
Okay, I'm wondering, folks, if, and I'm going to call on the next two people, that's Roberta and Hannah, but I'm wondering if we want a very small group to edit a single resolution that addresses all of the issues, and we can vote on that via email afterward, after this meeting, and then it could be sent forward. So I want to put that forward as something that I think could be an effective way to modify this resolution that addresses all of our concerns. Roberta, you're next, and then Hannah.
Thank you. I just wanted to piggyback on the very last, be it resolved that we should address on-campus leadership, including program chairs and whatnot, as well as just simply the fact that some classrooms do not accommodate the course caps that are in place. And so that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. And Hannah?
Yeah, I just want to also ask about whether that means the deans, academic deans do not have that authority any longer, whether they're determined centrally. I think up to now, the course caps are to a certain degree up to the academic deans. I'm asking also because in ESOL, Norwalk is the only program that has 24, the other programs have 20 course cap, and we were told that was up to the dean. So does that also mean the dean does not have that responsibility or capacity anymore?
I think so. I think that we have all raised really good issues. I think that there is actually an extension issue that we need to consider in revising this resolution, and that is the fair and equal treatment at all campuses. And I think that begins to speak to the complexity of the issue. So we have a motion on the floor. Brian, did we have a second?
No, there was just an ask for motion and then discussion.
Okay. So, Asantwa, I am wondering if you would be willing to revise your motion that a small group work on revising this resolution to address the concerns that were raised. We have the video that folks can reference, and then we can vote to support a resolution via email. Is that something you might consider?
Yes.
If I could get you to restate your motion, to withdraw your original motion and restate your motion, that would be very useful.
So somebody's hand is up. I don't know if they want to answer first, but.
Just have a very quick question. I see that President Maduko is here, so I'm going to be very brief. Whether we have bylaws that allow online voting or whether this needs to come back to the next meeting.
So bylaws, Hannah, are one of the things that I am hoping that we get started on. We have a charter. We got our charter squared away last semester, but we don't have operational bylaws. So we don't have any law, anything in place for that yet. And unless we have something that says no, I think we can do that work. All right.
Okay, so we still need Senator Dawson to finish with the additional motion.
So withdraw this current motion and motion to form a committee to restructure this resolution and to vote electronically on that resolution. I think that's what we said.
I love that.
I second the motion. Hold on, people. Hold on. Okay. Who is the second?
Alan Ballinger.
Alan, yep.
Mm-hmm. All right, folks, all those in favor of this motion, please raise your hand. President Maduko, just so you're aware, when we're done voting on this issue, we will come to you. All those in favor of this motion, please raise your hand. John, it looks like everyone is voting. Is that right? We have full support.
So
That's 34.
I have 30,
Maybe 36.
32,
Everybody.
33. I have 34.
Okay.
30.
Okay, 34 support. You could lower your hands. You could lower your hands, please. Brian?
Sorry. I was typing.
That's all right. That's all right. Anyone who is opposed, if you oppose, you are in opposition, please raise your hand now. There's no opposition. Anyone who abstains? Anyone who abstains?
This is Senator Collette. I apologize of having tech issues. I am in favor. If you can add mine to the 34.
We did not count you in the 34, so we will now. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Got it.
Okay. And we have one abstention. We have one abstention. All right. Folks, if you are interested in serving on this committee, it will be an ad hoc committee of the Senate. If you are interested in working on revising this resolution, please drop your name in the chat. Please drop your name in the chat. You can also reach out to any member of the Executive Council. Thank you. All right. We are going to go back to President Maduko's address. President Maduko, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Madam President, good afternoon. Good afternoon, senators and guests. My apologies. I am here at Gateway enjoying all things DEI. So shout out to the CT State Gateway community for a huge event that includes faculty, staff, community members. It's a pretty awesome experience. For starters, let me first just extend thoughts and prayers regarding the tragedy that's taken place in Maine. I'm not sure if they caught the alleged shooter, but I've heard from some of our staff members that have family in that region of Maine and knew of some of the victims. So let's think about them. Obviously, there's continued loss of life in the Middle East. Today, I believe the Center New Media will release my fall update video. It's about 5 minutes, give or take, and I start that video actually just really addressing our Middle Eastern, our Arab, our Muslim, our Palestinian colleagues, our students, just really extend my apologies first and foremost if my initial comments regarding the Israel and Gaza conflict, or whatever you want to label it, if in any way it came across as dismissing the loss of life and tragedy that Palestinians are experiencing. Right, all loss of life is tragic, and we mourn for everyone. And I made it clear in that video that it starts with me in terms of being a lifelong learner and being committed to learning and being willing to learn and have a better understanding when it comes to any form of conflict and war and loss of life in any corner of this world, and the Middle East is no different than that. So I also thanked members from both the Muslim and Jewish communities who've reached out to me just to engage and kind of share their lived experiences and share with me what their respective communities are going through. So, again, really important that, at the very least, we are empathetic to lived experiences of our colleagues and students and friends and communities, and also being willing to understand or try to understand what people are going through. I am the result of, the Nigerian Civil War that both my folks survived, and my uncle, my namesake, was killed in that stupid civil war. So at least through a Nigerian lens, I understand the generational impact of what war can do. So that's important. I won't take up too much time because I know we have a juicy agenda for today. I can see the looks in everyone's faces, but on November 9th, there's a special Academic and Student Affairs Committee meeting. So the ASA committee of the BOR. So all of the institutional provosts and institutional enrollment management officers will be in attendance, along with institutional presidents, to kind of just go over the current state of affairs as it relates to academic and student affairs planning, strategy, and et cetera, to give the committee members an opportunity to poke and prod and ask questions. So look forward to that. On November 15th is a special BOR meeting regarding the budget that I'm sure everyone's looking forward to. I'm not, but that's our reality, where each of the six institutional budget mitigation plans will be submitted and presented to the board. I'm sure there's going to be guests and questions and comments and speeches. So again, another event I'm looking towards. To dovetail on the budget mitigation, and Carrie Kelly, our CFO and Vice President of Finance Administration, is here with us today. Our 13 locations, right? So our 12 locations plus the 13th, New Britain, have all submitted their quote unquote draft budget mitigation plans. Nothing has been finalized, nothing is official. Carrie and company is reviewing and crunching numbers to compile it into one institutional budget mitigation plan. Like I mentioned yesterday during the office hours, which were awesome, we plan to meet with the College Senate, kind of go over that. Plan to meet with our bargaining unit leaders to go over that, prior to the 15th of November. And remember, the Board of Regents has requested budget mitigation plans from all the member institutions, and they will review and, weigh in on what they think those plans look like. No quote unquote staffing, regarding permanent staff, layoffs, any of that, nothing has been decided. There is no secret list, magical list, nothing. It's been trying to put together a budget mitigation plan, hit those targets, submit it to the board, and kind of take it from there. So that's the God honest truth. And our folks love to FOIA my emails anyway. So have at it. There's been no decisions that have been made. Let me reiterate, it has been hard. Right? It's been hard on our students, been hard on our great faculty and our staff. In no way is our administration dismissing the heartache and pain that our people are going through. Right? Unequivocally, we are not doing that. But we've been given the charge, right? Board of Regents, the Chancellor, like Maduka, close that budget, right? The same with the other 5 institutions within CSCU. So that's what we're doing. If you combine the 3 fiscal years, so FY24, FY25, FY26, it is north of $240 million. We do not have the funding to cover that deficit, right? And have it be those numbers, or some people don't believe the numbers. Well, damn it, those are the numbers that have been given to me, and we're trying to work through it. And right now, our focus is FY24. And people have asked, well, Maduka, what are we doing for FY25 and 26? I'm like, I have no bleeping idea, right? Because it's been hard on us already to address a $33.6 million deficit. What do we do with $91 million? I don't know, right? And to even try to conceptualize cutting $91 million from our operating budget is ludicrous, right? It's asking the impossible of us, but that is the stark reality that we're facing right now. I completely support the advocacy of our bargaining units and our senators and our faculty and our staff and our students and whomever, right? This is America, freedom of speech, all of that, do it. Because you're advocating for all of us, and I commend you. And this is a very tough situation to be in, not for myself, really for our college community. So administration, we're doing everything that we can, but we recognize that decisions or changes in services that have been impacted based on our budget are unpopular. People are angry, pissed, and I'm sure everything else in between, right? So continue to ask and advocate, and we're going to do our best to do that. And then lastly, the last update, more positive, there is I guess a buzz, I'm kind of concerned about the buzz, but there's a buzz across the state from the private 4 years, always from UConn, from the CSUs, from us, many of the state agencies, and even the K-12 sector regarding early college. So have it be as concurrent, P-TECH, dual credit, you name it, there's a buzz. We don't have a codified and funded dual enrollment or early college infrastructure in Connecticut, unlike the other New England states. It is not funded. So it's a hit or miss. CT State provides about 27% of all dual enrollment opportunities in the state of Connecticut, second only to UConn, and then it's the CSUs, and then it's the privates. Dual enrollment only makes up about 3% of our enrollment. Unlike in other states, for most community colleges where I came from and others, it's between 20 to 40% of all enrollment are high school students who are dually enrolled taking college courses, right? So that's a huge opportunity for us, and people have expressed interest, right? So we are engaging with those individuals to try to determine, do we have a like-mindedness as it relates to the benefit to students, the benefit to CT State, and what does the visioning look like, right? So nothing has been determined. There is no official plan, but I think the visioning is kind of taking place right now and really bringing data and information from a national perspective to Connecticut, because often people say, well, Meduca, just expand dual enrollment. And my response is fund it. You fund it, sure, right? It's not funded right now. Hence, it's only 3% of our enrollment. Right. And we know we have the bad taste in our mouth when things don't get funded, what that can look like. So I just want to kind of share that with you right now. As we know more, we'll do that. I'm trying to put together an advisory board of superintendents across the state, especially those superintendents from the 30 plus alliance districts that align with many of our campus locations and also some of our rural school districts as well, to really kind of engage with them, to ask them, like, what do you seek from early college dual enrollment P-TECH to help us kind of formulate a strategy, a vision, and a path forward. So as that develops, we will provide even more updates and information to our college community, obviously through our Senate, and then really try to create opportunities to include our faculty and staff in those early discussions and conversations with K-12, with legislators and others. So I look forward to that. And that is it for my Friday report.
Thank you. I appreciate you were very close to your time limit.
Can you tell me what was the time so I can improve for next time, please?
You were about
you had 10 minutes, but you went about 12, and I was just like, oh, he's really gonna make me have to say, please stop. And thankfully you didn't, so thank you.
Okay, all right.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, with this, we are returning to a May issue. Asantwa, we're coming back to you, and I have pulled up your resolution to share that once again.
Excuse me, Elle, do we have time for questions?
We really don't, Seth. They'll
be brief.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So, thank you, President Meduco. The first question is, when do you plan to review the plan with the Senate? Are we going to set it? The 15th is a couple weeks from now.
Yeah. So between now and the 15th, we're gonna figure that out. That is not a great answer, but shit's on fire right now, so we will find time to make that work.
And the second question I had was, I thought the board was asking for mitigation strategies for both fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25. Did they change that, or was that just, or was they were only asking for fiscal year 24?
What we understand it to be is just for FY24. So that's what we've worked on, and I'm confident that's what the other 5 institutions have worked on as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Seth.
I just want to, if I have time for one small comment, just a comment, because I'm just coming back from the national conference NAACP at St. Louis about dual enrollment. Just the request to please invite faculty or group leaders to the table early on, because I think it's best if we are involved at an early point, and we have a strong interest to be involved from the ESOL side, for instance, to solve the problem of late arrival immigrants.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. We will. Thank you.
Okay, any further comments, folks? Couple of minutes over. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and share the next resolution. This one is also coming from HCC. Ms. Santua, the floor is yours.
So this resolution is in response to the issues that we all had with DegreeWorks when it came to registering for the fall semester. And so HCC basically was asking that discrepancies in DegreeWorks between pre-consolidation and post-consolidation degree audits will be clearly communicated and explained to students in a timely manner. And also that CT State Community College will honor the catalog provided at the time of student enrollment until they graduate. So a lot of students were told they only have this year to finish their programs, so they're not going to be grandfathered in if they don't finish after spring 2024 in the programs that they originally registered for. So this is our resolution.
And is there a motion associated with this resolution?
Yes, again, motion for the Senate to approve this resolution or support this resolution so we can send it to the higher ups.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Who seconded?
Seth did.
Seth, okay. Any discussion? Nick?
Real quick question. I'm wondering, I support this. I don't know if you could put that back up, Elle, I'm so sorry. It just says course the catalog. I'm wondering if we need to change that to school catalog, right? Because prior to Connecticut State, there was 12 different catalogs. And it might, I don't know if it's just being nitpicky on that, unless this is just a Housatonic resolution and not if this isn't going to expand to all 12 colleges or campuses, excuse me.
Cassandra, can you respond to that?
I mean, this initially stemmed from HCC, but I would definitely like to extend it to all campuses.
And Nick, which item are you asking to be?
At the very bottom where it says, be it resolved, Connecticut State Community College will honor the catalog provided. I didn't know if we needed to, the catalog of home campus or something, like if a minor edit needed to be made for that. If this is going to not just be for Housatonic, unless this goes to each individual campus would be able to then put it forward for each one, and then I guess it wouldn't matter.
Okay. I have to stop sharing in order to see people who are raising their hand, but I have highlighted.
I can call names if that's easier.
Okay, thank you, John.
Senator Sarah Perez.
I just had a quick question because I've been told that like our old catalog, anything prior to July 1, it no longer exists because we're now CT State and accredited. So maybe that has that's the only concern that I have, because that's what I've been told, is that we can't go back because they don't exist anymore.
I had the same question, Sarah. Is there someone from administration who can respond to that? Mike? Mike, you're on mute.
I'm muted and muted again. Sorry about that. Just some background on this. So when the merger was first proposed and we communicated with NECHI and the substantive change was submitted, the academic leadership at the time made the decision that we could not do a traditional teach out for all the existing programs at the 12 colleges. That would mean recreating over 1,200 programs in the new version of One College Banner. The decision was made that aligned programs would be developed Students would be moved or migrated to that aligned program. And then we would use course substitutions, blanket waivers, variances to hold students harmless. That was what we shared with NETCHI, and that's what they approved. So there's a technical piece to this, which is that teach outs that people may have been used to could not occur. We cannot award degrees under the old catalogs or colleges because upon getting accreditation as Connecticut State, each individual college had to surrender or give up their individual accreditation. So we can no longer award a Capital Community College degree or a Manchester degree. However, and I know my time's running out, I'll ask for 10 more seconds. We've had a hold harmless clause, and we've been using degree work substitution so that any course that a student took that counted in their previous degree, we are making arrangements so that counts in their current Connecticut State degree. So conceptually, we're doing everything we can to honor the concept of a teach out, which is that the courses you were taking under that catalog still count. You'll not be required to take extra credits because of the merger. So I'm out of time, but I'm happy to talk more if I don't know if that helps.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, folks, so that I can participate in the discussion unless somebody needs me to keep this up.
We are over time, just to let you know.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Senator Allen is next.
Okay.
Thank you. I think just in the third paragraph, if we want to revise this to reflect campuses rather than colleges, it says home community college, although that's in quotes. But would it be more appropriate to say your home campus?
Okay. Any other hands? Gail, I see you, but I want to see if there are any other questions we can get. Okay, Gail?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. For those that don't know me, I'm Gail Barrett. I'm the Associate Vice President of Enrollment and Retention Services. And I just wanted to provide some data about course substitutions that Mike was alluding to. So as of right now, we've applied 4,574 exceptions into degree work. So that's a combination of course substitutions as well as manual moves by the degree works team to account for differences to how legacy programs were scribed versus current CT State programs. We've also applied 167 blanket substitutions that were approved by faculty colleagues and campus deans to account for changes in curriculum. So just to let you know the work that has happened behind the scenes to assist in the do no harm philosophy for CT State with regards to moving from 12 legacy campus curriculums to an aligned CT State curriculum.
Thank you, Gail.
Sure.
Sarah Perez?
Sorry, I just wondering, can we even vote on that resolution then? If like, I don't even think we can, I don't know if we can even do a vote on this because if we're not using, like if, I don't know if we can even do this.
Are we asking something that can be acted upon? Is that what you're positing?
That's my question.
Yeah, mine too.
Agreed.
Gail, are you chiming in again or is your hand up still?
No, it's me forgetting to take my hand down. Sorry.
No worries. Thank you. Yeah, I also question if acting on a resolution that cannot be legitimately followed up on makes sense. However, we do have a motion and a second, so we will finish the vote for all those. Oh, Betty, are you wanting to speak or are you getting ready to vote? Betty's hand is down.
Sorry, yeah.
Seth and then Alan.
If there's a consensus that this can be acted upon, then I'll withdraw my second. But if that's the consensus of the group. Oh, Alan said not so fast, huh?
Alan, go ahead.
Well, part of the motion had to do, or one of the concerns was that there was an expiration date, right, to those course substitutions. And therefore, that means that this is not a moot point, right? This is the last statement. Connecticut State Community College will honor the catalog provided at the time of student enrollment until they graduate. I think that is still relevant because
from what I heard in the explanation, it was only supposed to be for 1 year. And there are students who may not have been able to take classes this year that may re-enroll or may take longer than 1 year to complete their degree.
But it says until they graduate, not for 1 year.
Right, that's why but I think the policy that was stated would only be for 1 year.
I see.
And that's why this resolution perhaps is needed.
Okay, thank you. All right, folks, if you think that
You
this,
have one more in.
oh,
President
my
Naduko's hand is up.
President Naduko, go ahead.
Yeah, regardless of the vote, regardless of how this moves forward, we can have our central office team look into, I mean, is it really a policy that restricts this to 1 year? Right? What should we do with that policy? If we did put a timeline, I think we all have a thought about that. And then I see in the chat in terms of, well, how long does this hold our students harmless? I think, you know, something as significant as the merger, and we are putting out fires daily, would warrant a commitment to hold our students harmless, right? So how do we, one, do that? And then two, is there a way that we can better communicate to students, right, what their options are, that we're not closing the door on them in terms of the legacy courses and programs that they came from, right? So I think this is multifaceted, regardless of what the vote. I think in terms of us being better communicators and ensuring that students don't feel like there's nothing I can do, this isn't for me. So we're committed to working on that.
All right, folks, we have a motion. And we seem to have a commitment, you know, even without a resolution, we have a commitment here, and this is recorded, and we do a lot of follow-up. I have become far closer to President Maduko and Provost Brown than I ever thought I would be. So we can continue to act on this even if we don't support this particular resolution. However, we have a motion on the floor, and I will ask all of those in favor of this motion as it is written, please vote yes now. All of those in favor of this resolution, please vote yes now. President Maduko, I think your hand is still up from speaking.
Yeah, let me lower my ethnic hand 1 second. Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's 10.
Okay, we have 10 in support. Please lower your hands. We have 10 in support. If you oppose this resolution, please know that we will still continue to pursue the issue, even without this resolution. Please vote now. Any additional votes? See, they're still coming in. John, where are we with that?
They're still moving.
Oh, okay, thank you.
19.
Okay, very good. Go ahead and put your hands down. And any abstentions? Any abstentions?
Looks like 7.
Okay, very good. What was the final tally, John?
I think
10-19-7, vote fails.
The motion fails. Thank you for your consideration, folks. All right, our next item is CPOS. And Roberta Pryor has sponsored this agenda item out of Gateway.
Yes.
Roberta, do you want me to pull? Do we have a resolution, or is this just an item?
No, it's an item I'll present and we can discuss and go from there.
Thank you.
Amenable to everyone. Terrific. So good afternoon, colleagues. CPOS was brought up at our May meeting, and at the time it was still a somewhat elusive concept to many. I hope everyone's had time to review the document about CPOS that VP Davis so kindly provided in advance of this meeting, and thank you, VP Davis. Now that, excuse me, AVP Davis, VP Davis, I apologize about that. Now that CPOS though is in place, there are several issues that have caused harm to our students and especially our legacy students. So CPOS alerts are triggered off a student's degree audit and DegreeWorks. And as most of us know, DegreeWorks for CT State is still incorrect despite the continuous corrections that even Dr. Barrett had referenced. And thank you for bringing up those statistics, Dr. Barrett, that's helpful to us. There are significant errors and inconsistencies in how courses are coded or scribed and what the audit recognizes and does not recognize. In lieu of that teach out that was referred to earlier, the do no harm policy came into place. And we're using that as the primary way to rectify some of the CPOS issues for students through those course substitutions, changes of majors, which is not only extremely labor intensive for all involved, but it's also very confusing to students, and it has long-term effects on the quality of the student's degree. Furthermore, once the CPOS alert is resolved and is accurately reflected in the degree audit, it often creates and triggers another CPOS alert because courses are being replaced and moved around by one another, and it just creates this rolling effect on classes and more confusion for students. When our academic programs were being created, I think those involved did not have a thorough understanding or even perhaps any knowledge of CPOS at the time and how it could potentially harm students in their academic programs. For example, programs, not a lot of the programs, permit room for electives, which will allow students access to a fulfilling liberal arts education, which is responsive to what our students' interests are and their personal development. Consequently, this also hinders any chance of growing new programs which are responsive to our local workforce needs. Pardon me. Throughout the history of community colleges in our country, students have been afforded the opportunity to take classes which will transfer to four-year schools at a lower cost. CPOS does not allow for students to explore those higher level courses that will transfer, such as even so much as English 1020 or higher level math, just as two examples. So this negates the rights of students to have access to the maximum number of financial aid credits permissible under the 150 ruling. Because of the time of transfer credit, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. Because of the timing of transfer credit evaluations and how behind personnel are in completing those TCEs, our AP, CLEP, and transfer credits, they are not appearing in DegreeWorks until after the student's initial advising, which then oftentimes trigger CPOS alerts for those equivalency classes, which, by the way, were not paid for with CT State financial aid, and it literally harms those students who took college-level AP classes while in high school, which I think is a shame. Also, CPOS alerts are visible to advisors 24 hours after the student has registered, instead of in real time prevent students from registering for classes that aren't Title IX eligible. This causes disruptions in the student's enrollment experience, and it has given a lot of students some really negative feelings about our new institution. Furthermore, many of the CPOS alerts are and have been false positives. While there's a great deal of research necessary to determine if the alert is even correct, it takes advisors' availability away from advising students and focuses their time more on processing CPOS alerts. And to rectify problems, it's also extremely labor intensive, not just for advisors and those that are assisting, but it's really labor intensive for our one-stop and financial aid offices, causing an abundance of extra work for those individuals at a time when those offices are severely understaffed. Lastly, CPOS was not ready to be released because DegreeWorks was not accurate. And CPOS, as we know, depends on DegreeWorks being accurate. And it has caused a lot of frustration and significant financial and academic harm to students. I recognize, and I think we all recognize, the importance of maintaining compliance with federal guidelines for Title IV money, but there are ways that the collective body, we can make a good faith effort to make that happen without utilizing CPOS at this time. Institutions throughout our state have managed to maintain compliance with financial aid regulations without the use of CPOS. It seems to me that we're trying to run Connecticut State the way we envision it in the future, as opposed to what it is right in this moment. And I think we need to not mistake by any means that in doing so, we are causing harm, whether intentional or unintentional. And let me rephrase that. I know it is unintentional to our students. So That said, I would like to move that Connecticut State requests CT leadership suspend CPAS until at least the fall 2025 term and allow the following conditions be met under our do no harm policy. Degree works must be complete and accurate since it's the primary reference for CPAS. That is first and foremost. A mechanism be in place for the equivalency credits such as AP and CLEP, transfer, and international student credits, anything earned outside of CT State. So it does not prohibit students from having access to their financial aid. So we need to find a mechanism for those transfer credit evaluations to be completed before the initial academic advising appointment. Academic programs should undergo a revision process aimed at designating electives and elective categories, which will allow for that rich liberal arts education we so want our students to have, and that is responsive to their interests and personal development. We also think that academic programs must be intentional to identify courses necessary for transfer, even if it's not critical to their academic program, and establish a process by which it can be updated regularly so they're not flagged for CPAS. Also, necessary remedies to the inaccurate CPAS flags, They're so overly burdensome, and we'd really like for them to be electronic and user-friendly with different training provided in advance of implementation. And courses that are not covered by financial aid should be flagged for students immediately upon registration, kind of the way we see those course time conflict alerts. The CPAS policy must be widely distributed, properly referenced in the calendar and all of our enrollment materials, and I appreciate VP Davis, for providing all of that. The advisors must be able to see CPAS flags in real time during registration to eliminate extra advising sessions, and program details or policies should be developed in a manner that will avail students the opportunity of using up to 150% of their program credits so that they can be entitled to be able to see, that they're entitled to should they need or choose. And lastly, we really need to do an extensive beta test to run, design, assess, and make sure that everything is working properly before we re-engage CPAS. That is it.
I'm willing to second the motion because the motion was made.
Thank you, Ellen.
Before we have a second, we need a clear statement of the motion. The motion was almost a page long, and we don't have a clear. I understand it's complex, but we need a clear statement of the motion before we can move on to a second.
Would you like for me to put it in the chat for you?
Sure.
I was going to request, well, I was going to ask if the motion was simply to suspend CPAS until the fall of 2025. And I think that's a simple enough motion. And then all of the rationale that you stated following that would be, the ask that those be met by that date. But I don't know if we could end up debating wording and everything like this extensively if the entire page is the motion.
Right. And I think that's part of the complexity. So
can we get clarity from CT State leadership on that this is actually possible before we move forward and continue to have discussions?
That's where we're going next, Brian. I want to give AVP Davis the opportunity to respond, because as we are asked to vote on something specific, we need to know if
possible.
Right. So thank you for joining us, Tamika, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. And, Roberta, thank you as well. I don't think we are by any means stating that it is a perfect process, right? I don't think many of our processes are perfect, right? So I definitely believe in continuous assessment of what we're doing, right, regularly, right? With feedback from the students as well as feedback from the faculty and staff. It's a new landscape, I think, for all of us collectively, right? And particularly in trying to ensure that we are adhering to the federal regulations and not leaving the institution exposed, right? And so my mind sometimes goes to that are we doing what's best for students, and are we meeting our compliance requirements, right? And maintaining just a healthy institution, right, for the good of our students. So I think, Roberta, definitely, are there things that we can do better, right? And I thank you for providing some solutions in that, because that's helpful to us and that's helpful to my team as we go back and try to reassess what changes can we implement to make this a little bit easier, right? In some ways, I think that CPAS has been helpful, although I'm not saying not challenging, but it has been helpful in some respects, right? When we're particularly talking about discrepancies of our legacy programs, what's in our catalog and what's being displayed to our students in DegreeWorks, right? So in some cases, it's helped us to catch some of that, right? In some cases, it's helped us to address students who otherwise we would have maybe not had any contact with and found out they needed some additional support or they needed to change their program, right? That there was some additional support that we were able to provide them through the connection from the CPAS alert, right? So not perfect, but definitely not all bad, right? And I want to also open the floor up to Steve, right, to just talk a little bit more about the technical and the compliance issues, right? When we're trying to assess that question, is what you're requesting possible, right? So, Steve.
So thank you. I guess the one comment I would have, and I did see it pop up in the chat, is I know Southern is the only other CSCU institution that uses CPAS. I will say that I know of no other means to check whether a student's courses count in their program outside of this product, other than somebody manually checking it each and every time. You know, I've had conversations with other institutions. I know other institutions that use it. I know other institutions that punted using it because they had the very same issues that we do. And those that have done that have acknowledged that it is a risk that they have been willing to accept. Just for context, if this were found in an audit, if I were an auditor, if I found out that this mechanism wasn't being used, my first question would be, what are you doing? What is your process? And if the response is nothing, then they would look a lot deeper. And in terms of liabilities, you would be looking at, the total cost of Title IV payment for that particular course, plus interest going back to the department, which would then leave CT State on the hook to reimburse students to make them whole. It is a risk. I'm not saying this CPAS is perfect. It's been imperfect, honestly, since it first came out from Ellucian. That's a fact. So, I mean, my response would be, if you were to table this for 2 years, because we can't turn it off mid-year and turn it back on mid-year, it would create retroactive issues. So it would have to be starting for a fall semester. My question would be, what would we do? How would we know? Because from a compliance perspective, I would have to answer that question.
This is Nicola, just to let everyone know we are over time.
Okay. Thank you, Nick. Hopefully we can capture some time on some other issues. Hannah, and then Miguel.
Yeah, so if I say this correctly, CPAS is federal policy. Is that correct? But what is not federal policy is to measure it through DegreeWorks. So what I've found, we've gone through this with ESOL classes and basically also with some other classes that can be either part of a program or can function as a prerequisite. I think that is the case for the ESOL classes, for instance. In some programs they can count, in some programs they're prerequisite to go to English 1010. That can also be true for chemistry, for instance. Someone needs chemistry to get into AP or Bio 105 to get into anatomy and physiology, even though the bio class is not in there, or pre-calculus if they need calculus in the program. So I think some of these things have been remedied. My question is basically how much is it possible for DegreeWorks to recognize that classes can be either or is this the problem with the software that we're using in order to enforce CPAS? And the other question is, I don't think this policy is really brand new. how was it possible to interpret this a little bit, more flexible, because we have not run into these problems before, or has it not been enforced at all? So these were the two questions. Is it something that's programmable so that some of these issues go away? And why is this coming up now when this policy has possibly been in place?
So I'll speak to the first one, just to your initial statement, Hannah. CPAS itself is not a federal policy. CPAS is a tool to enforce the policy. So the federal law is that Title IV can only be applied to courses that are within a student's program. How an institution enforces that is up to them. So right now, before CPAS, there's never been anything, and this law is not new. It's been around a long time. It's been in print a long time. It's just been overlooked historically. So I'm sorry, go ahead, Gail.
And I can actually weigh in regarding the DegreeWorks piece. So we actually piloted CPAS for a year at Housatonic and Middlesex prior to launching statewide. So we did work on this quite heavily before launching it as a state. DegreeWorks, just as a reminder, is a tool that reflects what's in the catalog. So DegreeWorks will only ever be as good as what we have in the catalog. And I think to Tamika's point earlier, by turning CPAS on, I think we found or uncovered many things that needed to be updated in the catalog and therefore updated in DegreeWorks. So this is a really collaborative effort. Just again, some more data. Our team has received over 1,800 tickets related to DegreeWorks since it launched in late March, and all but 14 have been resolved at this point. So about 1,812 out of 1,826 have been resolved by our team. So DegreeWorks is a tool that mirrors the curriculum, and I think it's a very helpful tool because we're finding more things to assist our students. So I hesitate to say DegreeWorks is inaccurate or it is wrong, because it reflects what's in our catalog. So I just want to make sure we kind of all have that context as we're discussing DegreeWorks and CPAS.
Thank you, Gail. There's a comment that says that DegreeWorks isn't catching prerequisites. Is that true, Gail?
It's catching it if that's how it's in the catalog. So again, if things are missing, we need to be informed of that so we can check with our catalog team to confirm the prereq should be in place, and then it can be scribed appropriately in DegreeWorks.
Okay, thank you. Miguel and then John.
Yeah, I'm struggling with a couple of things here. I understand that there is DOE policy, and we are trying to figure out a way to comply with that DOE policy where we have been not in compliance, I guess, historically. I have a problem in using a tool which requires the use of a second tool, which we know to be inaccurate, and we know it's inaccurate because it says it on our website, and it says students, DegreeWorks is not right. That's a problem. At Southern, they assume that DegreeWorks is correct, and that's why they can use CPAS, or they're choosing to use CPAS. I don't understand how 3 state universities are not using it, and that's fine. And we're saying it's not fine for us. I'm really struggling with that. I'm struggling with a concept where it seems to me that if this is sort of implemented the way that it's being discussed to be implemented, is going to truly limit our students in terms of what they can take. And we're cutting off our nose to spite our face when we're trying to figure out and get butts in our classrooms. And I don't understand how that's a good thing. I think that we should be doing everything we can to figure out workarounds. And I think we should be figuring out everything that we can to figure out how we can enrich the student experience and be in compliance. I understand that people are working hard on this. I'm not minimizing the work that has been done, and I appreciate that. But I feel like we need to do better, because I don't think that this is the right answer. The way it's being suggested that we implement it right now.
Thank you, Miguel. Tamika, before I come back to you, I'd like to get John's question on the record and hopefully a response to both of them. John?
Well, I just wonder out loud if we can, since we can't interrupt this mid-year and we wouldn't be able to do anything until fall of next year, if maybe we could put together like an ad hoc committee or a group of folks that would want to itemize a list of issues that we're currently having and take them and work on them, and then circle back around to the issue maybe in the beginning of 2024 to see what progress we've made on fixing the existing issues, and then decide whether or not we need to make some sort of adjustment before you commit to it in the fall.
Thank you.
Just so no one knows, we are 10 minutes over at this point.
Thank you, Nick. All right, folks. So, Tamika, if
So
you
I'm going to do a point of order on this. This discussion is too important we can't cut this on time. We need to have this discussion. So I'm going to put a point of order on the time limitation here.
I am not trying to put an end to this conversation. I'm just trying to keep everyone abreast of the fact that this was allotted for 10 minutes. We have now spent close to 20 minutes on this, just keeping everyone so we know where we are time-wise. Not trying to call.
And we're going to continue to try to do this as expeditiously as possible. Roberta, if you could very quickly, do you have a question or a comment that you would like answered? You're muted.
Forgive me, I wanted some clarification from Steve, if I may. I know that we had started and stopped CPAS twice in the beginning. Why are we unable to stop it in the middle of the semester? Like, is there a technical reason why we can't do that?
Okay, so we have some questions on the record. I'm going to give the floor back to administration, whether that's Steve or Tamika, for responses.
So Gail may back me up on this or tell me if I'm incorrect, but it's not that you can't stop it mid-year, it's that you can't stop it and start it again mid-year.
Right.
Because that would, if we turned it off, did whatever needs to be done, then turned it back on, from our Ellucian consultant, it's got the potential to cause retroactive issues. So that would mean aid payments backing out from a previous semester, which would cause a lot more chaos.
So in essence, if we stopped it, we could use the next year and a half. If we paused it, use the next year and a half to get everything working as best as possible in DegreeWorks and the catalog to ensure that there's more accuracy, so it doesn't keep hurting students if we start fall 25.
Of course you could, but I would go back to my question earlier that wasn't
understand.
answered, is what would be done in place? And if the answer is nothing, then that is a risk everybody would have to either accept or not. And to address Hannah's question, if we ignored it so far, did any audit ever bring this up as flagged? In a federal audit, they don't look at every little detail at every little turn. So just because it wasn't caught doesn't mean that it isn't an issue.
Thank you. Tamika?
I just wanted to circle back to, I think, a point that Miguel, I think you made the point, right? Is we really need to, in tandem, address the curriculum issues, right? Because, as we've kind of stated, that particularly with DegreeWorks, right, that is what the student is seeing, right? That is how the student is assessing whether or not they're meeting the requirements of their program, right? And so if we continue to have this disconnect between what's actually required for a program, right? What is the curriculum, right? Based on the faculty's purview versus what's in the catalog and what's being displayed to the students, we will consistently have these discrepancies show up for a student, right? We just may not have this, we may not be using CPAS to actually catch that discrepancy, right? So I don't want us to be amiss about having to address the curriculum pieces of this process, right? That it's not just the technology and the tool, but it's actually, we need to go back and do an evaluation of what's happening with the curriculum, right? And, my team, I will say this again, will update that tool to whatever is required, right, for the program, right? And that would include electives, right? Has there been a conversation about what electives could actually be included in a program that would create that explorative flexibility, right, for our students, right? So I think that's just a pivotal piece of the conversation that we have to keep at the forefront. And John, I will take you up on your offer. I would love an ad hoc group. So I'm putting your name down on the list. So we're hoping to see you there. And anyone else, right? Because I think we do need to continue the conversation, right? And really come together to figure out what does a collective solution look like, right? Whether that's improvements to CPOS or if that is identifying another process that would work.
Thank you, Tamika. All right, folks, I'm going to ask that if your hand is up, that you are bringing up a new issue or a new thing to be considered so that we can move on. Let's see. We have
This is
Alan,
Roberta.
Roberta.
May I say something, please? First?
What I want to go in order, Roberta, and it's Alan and then you and then Stephen.
Thanks, Elle. I mean, we have 3 state universities that are currently in compliance with federal law that are not using CPOS. And so therefore, I think in answer to Steve's question, we can certainly model our procedures after what they are doing. It's not a matter of us not being in compliance if we don't use CPOS. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Roberta and then Stephen.
Thank you. I wanted to withdraw my motion as stated. However, I would like to still move that we suspend until fall 25 with understanding that there will be a ad hoc committee to take a look at how to ensure we move toward compliance during that suspension.
Suspend until 25 with a commitment for a committee review.
Yes, the ad hoc committee that John so eloquently put together or said that, forgive me, Tamika had said that, suggested, and I think that's a great idea.
Yep.
To look at all of these issues we discussed, if that's possible.
Is there a second? Hannah, thank you. And Stephen, you're next.
I think this just has to do more with like the fluidity of the course sub process, but a lot of what was happening down at Norwalk with our CPOS was the amount of time it was taking to get course subs done and changed. We had instances where we were trying to solve CPOS issues, but it took over 2 months for course subs to even be put into the first place where they could have been solved. So if there is an ease of process of getting course subs done and processed, and I'm sure each campus has a different turnaround time for that, that maybe more CPOS issues could be solved more quickly than what's currently happening for them.
And if I can put a plug in, we have a webinar on November 21st at 11 a.m. to walk through the electronic process of the course substitution form. This process has been a little bit slower than what I would have liked, but it was a massive lift to build the workflow behind this form because of the approver process. So I would highly encourage folks to attend that webinar. I put the link in the chat for you. It will be facilitated by a degree work specialist, a dean, a program coordinator, and a guide pathways advisor to show you their respective roles in the process. So I certainly encourage you to attend that session for the electronic form. And it will also be recorded for those that are not able to attend, but the link is in the chat for you.
If you could drop it in again, Gail.
I absolutely can. Yep, let me pull that up for you. No problem.
Thank you. Okay, Roberta, is your hand up again or still? Okay. And Steve, is your hand up again or still? Thank you very much.
My hand up is again, but Dr. Meduco, if you'd like to comment first, that's okay.
Yeah, real quickly. Obviously I'm ex officio and the loan, I guess the only lever I have to pull when it comes to either body of governance is veto power, right? And my ears perk up when it comes to liability to the institution. So I would give you an example that's happened during my first year. I will not name the now former community college or their foundation, but I got a lovely letter from the Fed saying, hey, there has been a data breach as relates to student information. Let this happen again. We will pull your Title IV funding. Right. And Steve, I want to say the total amount of Title IV funding we've received this semester is, I believe, north of $50 million, right? I believe that's the number, between $50 and $60 million. So when it comes to not being in compliance, and more importantly, a risk to any form of funding or our standing as an institution, I will absolutely step in and ask the question, is this worth it? Versus can we just continue to figure out what we need to do? I'm not getting into the prerequisites and the ability for a student to explore and do those things. I don't touch curriculum. That's where our faculty and Congress is for. But when it comes to a risk to the enterprise, I have to step in and say, wait a minute, what are we doing? I would say too, in terms of the other CSUs that are in compliance, I haven't seen a letter that says that they're in compliance. I think it's just simply there are 5,000 institutions of higher education in the United States. And the one thing about the feds, they have a blank check, and when they come knocking, they come. And I think I'm not sure that's a risk that we want to take, because we're simply going to be audited because we are 2 months and 29 or 28 days old. That's just going to be our reality for the next decade in terms of the feds and whomever snooping around, and that's their right to do that. So I think we have to find that middle ground that supports the essence of what our faculty, our senators, and everyone and our staff have been speaking in terms of the challenges with CPOS and everything and degree works, but also not compromise the enterprise where it could hurt our funding, right? And that's a difficult thing to do. You need to understand, like, my role. Any threat to our students, to our faculty, to our staff, to our facilities, to our funding, that is where my office has to step in and say, wait a minute, are we sure about this? Because I might just veto and say, look, we're not going to do that right now. We got to come up with something else.
Thank you, President Maduco. We are 20 minutes over on this issue, folks. We are 20 minutes over. That means we are not getting to any new business unless we make up time. Steve, and then Roberta, and you're going to be the last two folks.
I'd like to withdraw my motion.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but I would like to thank everyone for this conversation, and I hope that the depth of this conversation and all of the points that we're making are heard, and we agree that we will all work toward making sure that we fix and remedy these problems as soon as possible.
Thank you, Roberta. And if you don't mind, Roberta, when we get to the committees and council section of our conversation, I think that this applies to my suggestion or my proposal for a staff council. Steve, I'm going to give you just a minute to respond.
That's fine. That's all I need. My comment was going to be, it was touched on by Dr. Maduco about the other 3 CSU institutions that Ellen had mentioned that they're in compliance. If you are aware of what they do, that would be helpful. Just because they're not using CPOS doesn't mean that they're in compliance. There are thousands, like Dr. Maduco said, thousands of institutions in the US. Not all of them are banner schools. Not all of them have a tool like this. So they either do something that's homegrown or they do nothing. Doing nothing is potentially a risk. The other point I wanted to make is, in the event that a student desperately wants to take a course that legitimately doesn't fit into their program, that doesn't mean that they can't take it. It just means that aid can't pay for it. So just, if folks could remember that, this, a CPOS alert isn't the be all and end all. If a student truly is interested in taking a course that doesn't fit into their program, they could still take it, but they are responsible for the cost.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. All right, folks. Whew. I know that was an important conversation. Like our similar conversations that have not progressed in exactly the way the initial motion suggested, this does not mean that this issue dies. We are just not moving forward with it in this way at this time. So that brings us to an area where we might be able to claw back some additional time, which is follow up from our September meeting. Roberta, you are responding to the issue of course substitutions, simply follow up, but we may have just covered that with Gail talking about the webinar. So is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, very good. How about the resolution from September on unofficial transcripts? Is there an action or anything that we need to know today?
Sure, just a quick follow-up. The Monday after the September meeting, VP Stefanowicz forwarded an email from the Aleutian team to Gateway's senators and Senate leadership with just an update of the dozens and dozens of reports that they're working on, including the SWRX H07, which is the unofficial transcript. He indicated in a subsequent conversation that the report would be available later this semester and kindly invited me to participate in its beta testing. So I was excited to see the number of reports that they are moving forward and appreciate that support and forwarding that information to us. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you, Roberta. Tamika, I see your hand.
I can take my hand down. Roberta covered it very eloquently. You will
Very
get your
good. Thank you.
807.
Thank you very much. And related to, this is just follow-up to the votes of no confidence. The Senate is in dialogue with President Maduco, making sure that what is brought before administration related to votes of no confidence are the issues that are focused upon. So that internal conversation and dialogue is also occurring. President Maduco, do you have anything to add to that?
The only thing is, I take not just votes of no confidence or potential votes, but anything concerning from our constituents seriously. And I think at least in my first year, I've demonstrated that I'm willing to drop everything and meet with local governance leaders, if not meet with the entire Bleeping campus for 3 hours to hear them out and take tours of lab schools and whatever needs to be done to demonstrate the concerns at hand. And I think we'll continue to kind of figure out, I guess my ask is just maybe just mapping out what that process looks like, right? So God forbid, but let's say a vote is submitted. Step one is meeting with my office. Step two is meeting with the potential local governance leadership to kind of, walk through the concerns and kind of just go from there. I think just having the process outlined would be helpful for all parties involved.
Okay, thank you very much. And folks, with that, we have managed to claw back about 12 minutes. So thank you. Oh, okay. Now we're moving on to this really super easy topic, and that is the budget. So we only have 15 minutes allotted. So I'm going to, Carrie, are you here? Before we go to that, Carrie Kelly, are you here? There we go.
Yes, happy to be here today.
So, one of the things that we want, that we will act on today as a Senate, or that is before us, is an amendment to support CFT. So do you want us to act on that first and then respond, or do you want to begin and then have us present that resolution?
Yeah, perhaps we should start with the conversation around the draft out-of-state travel and food policy guidelines that we shared with the Senate for the feedback. And I understand there is a resolution. So I'm happy to frame my comments about the budget after that, because that is very much related to the budget. I'd just like to also say at the outset that in combination, last year, less than $500,000 across the enterprise was spent on food and out-of-state travel. I'm just seeing if I can pull up the exact figures. We are not in a deficit because of out-of-state travel or food expenditures. But again, I think it's part of demonstrating our fiscal stewardship. So just to share with the group, last fiscal year, the actual spent on food were $389,799, and the actuals for in and out-of-state travel were $254,000. So again, this is not the reason we're experiencing a current year shortfall, nor is it going to singularly be the solution, but it is part of the way that we ensure a smart and prudent deployment of our resources.
Okay, thank you. Crystal Wiggins, are you here?
I am.
Excellent. Crystal brought us the resolution, the CFT amendment. So Crystal, you have the floor.
Okay, so I tried to get a CFT representative here today to speak on their amendment that they brought through, and hopefully it went out to all 12 campuses because we have teaching and learning consultants representing each of the campuses. But CFT believes strongly that they should be listed as one of the exceptions on the food memo, as the way that they're designed, the way that they have their their get-togethers, their professional development learning experiences. It's all about socializing and networking and camaraderie amongst people who are showing up. On top of that, these statewide, some of the statewide events that they hold are 3-day events in the woods, Barnes Seminar being one of them, and the restriction of not being able to feed the faculty who are going to these events, which it's a faculty-led and a closed faculty event that admin come for one night to visit and to see what the great work that we're doing. But it is really important to keep the holistic feel of these events with only faculty there, to have the freedom to speak on our expertise and to share and to learn. And so they have asked us to consider the amendment. Northwestern campus has voted in support at our professional senate to support this amendment to the food memo so that CFT may be considered an exception and use their funding to have food at their events.
So, Crystal, is that a motion to support that for CT State Senate to support this amendment?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
No. John Fiorello, I'll second.
I heard John
Jeremy.
and Jeremy. Okay, we have a second and a third. Discussion. Is there additional discussion, or can we move to a vote on this? Seth, are you voting? Or you? Okay. Yes, sir.
So my understanding is that the Center for Teaching Leadership already made this ask of President Maduko, but I want to just verify if that was the case before continuing, and their request was denied. Or maybe I have that mistake.
What did I deny? What happened? What did I do?
The Center for Teaching Leadership made this request of your office already to provide an exception.
And are those representatives here to speak to what I allegedly said? Like, it wasn't about the denial. It's more so we have governance. Why bypass our governance bodies to go directly to me? Because that feeds into the history of how CT State became in creation. And also too, like when it comes to money and certain standards and policies, like I don't play for anybody, right? It's trying to apply equity across the board. It wasn't a blatant or arbitrary quote unquote denial. It was more so work through the processes we have in place. That is what I said, but I love it when people are quoting me.
Okay, I wasn't clear on that. So my understanding was it was a denial, but you're saying, okay, so all right, well, either that's fine. I guess if it wasn't a denial, the request was to bring it to our governance and have our governance take this up. All right, well, I'll just, to be clear, I certainly support the resolution. I think, Center for Teaching has been around for a long time. We've had this Barnes Seminar. I think in the draft I read that we've been doing this for over 35 years. I think it goes without saying that the notion that we have to have an outside speaker to be able to provide food is insulting, frankly. And of course, our four-year institutions don't have any such restrictions like this. So I think we need to be really wary about accepting policies that are gonna, we're always really sensitive to be having policies that kind of, take certain things the way that we've had for years. And this is clearly one of those cases. So I certainly think the body should support the resolution.
Thank you, Seth. Okay, Bonnie is up next, and then we'll move to the vote.
One of the things I just wanted to point out was that I don't agree with this particular resolution. I think that there needs to be equity across because there are other programs as well that are just as funded as well in programming that provides it. I think it just insinuates that the other programming that is on campus or across the campus, it just minimizes that it doesn't have the same validity or the professional development or attendance or the data that says that it's there to support the programming and professional development. Or if we don't want to use professional development, just the development of other staff, the equity is lacking. There are other programs that are also looking and seeking to be able to have food as part of their training sessions, and also seeking to have other outsiders to give and build up our skill set. So I think if we're looking at this, it needs to be equitable across all of the campuses and the programs that are providing some great programming.
Thank you, Bonnie. Okay, folks, if you support the amendment of adding CFT to the exception list of the food and beverage policy, please raise your hand now. If you support the amendment, please raise your hand now. If you support the amendment, please raise your hand now.
We're at 24.
And it's stable, John?
Yeah, no, now we're at 25.
Okay. Very good. All right, we have 25 that support. Please lower your hands. We have 25 that support. Please lower your hands. If you oppose this amendment, if you oppose adding CFT to the exception, please raise your hands. If you oppose this, please raise your hand. John, how many opposition?
4.
We have 4 in opposition. Okay, folks, go ahead and lower your hands. And finally, if you abstain, if you are abstaining from voting, please raise your hand.
It's 9.
9. What was the vote total?
Good, Brian.
All right, 25-4-9, vote passes.
Motion prevails. Thank you very much. Carrie, I don't think we had any feedback to provide on the out-of-state travel piece. So I'm going to turn that back over to you for any further discussion.
Yes, thank you for the feedback as expressed through this resolution on the guidelines. I think there's ways to incorporate some of this feedback into the guidelines for food. Again, I think for meetings that do not have an outside participant, that are all day in nature, where the food is incidental to the event rather than convening just to have lunch or for like a coffee hour, I think we could find ways to incorporate that into the guidance. So thank you for that. I didn't have anything else to add regarding out-of-state travel. So I don't know if you wanted me to share where we are on deficit mitigation at this point and give you a little overview.
Yeah, we have about just over 4 minutes left. So
I can move quickly. At the onset of deficit mitigation, President Maduko articulated the strategic priorities that we were working to preserve. They are teaching and learning, student support services, our principles of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, campus public safety and security, and physical plant and technological infrastructure. So those have been the guiding principles. There has been a lot of work in a lot of different arenas. Things were really kicked off last May when we had a better understanding of the magnitude and urgency of our fiscal challenges. And since that time, leaders across the campus have met in different convenings, different groups and formats with students, faculty, staff, foundation leaders, and shared governance leaders as well, to talk about deficit mitigation with the goal of being as transparent and inclusive as possible. Additionally, at convocation, someone made an incredibly good recommendation. We needed another way for folks to share their thoughts and ideas about deficit mitigation and how we move forward together to bring our budget into balance. So we launched a suggestion box. Since that time, we've received 155 suggestions from 92 separate submitters. 33 of whom felt comfortable enough to identify themselves We're following up on many of these things. Some of these things are going to probably be included in the report. Others, I think, are going to require more time and attention to analyze properly. But again, I think there's a lot of great ideas and we have to work together to solve this challenge. We expect to have a report that is comprehensive, it's transparent, and includes all the details so that folks better understand what's included and, importantly, what's not included in our strategy for FY24 deficit mitigation and how those plans annualize into the out years for FY25 and 26. So I'm happy to pause here and take some questions from any of the senators or others who are here today.
Thank you. All right, folks. Does anybody have questions? Peter.
Hello. Hi, Carrie. I just wanted to, I like the idea of the suggestion box and that type of thing, but I saw, right after you put a suggestion in, immediately it's what's the annual savings or the revenue lift or the expense, savings and that type of thing. A lot of times that's unknown, so again, that was tough, to actually be able to quantify that in some cases. So I just thought I thought I'd share that because I did hear, from some people too, they were going to do that, but then since they couldn't, I know there was an unknown, option for that answer. That kind of steered them away from participating because they felt if they didn't have a number, they wouldn't suggest it. So I thought I'd throw that out.
Well, thank you for that. That's helpful. And I think we can explain that a little bit better. I don't think this is going to be the only time we ask for suggestions. So we did want to close the suggestion box in a certain period so we could receive all the feedback, aggregate it up, act on it, and share it in our more comprehensive report that'll be forthcoming. But I expect that this is going to be an ongoing joint effort. And so happily we can incorporate that into the guidelines for it in the future. So thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. John?
Thanks. At our last meeting, you had mentioned that the bulk of our shortfall was related to the way in which the state calculated some sort of retirement benefit or something that I don't recall the name of, but it had not affected UConn as an institution the same way it has affected us. I'm just wondering what the status is on trying to rectify that issue, or is it a total lost cause now that the budget has gone through, and is that something that we can't affect or change?
Well, I don't think anything's ever a lost cause. I think it's about ensuring that folks in the administration and the legislature understand the unique impacts that we're experiencing related to the way that the state has modified their funding for fringe benefits. And we continue to have conversations with the folks at OPM and in the legislature about this to make sure they really understand what this means for us.
Is there any legal action that could be taken after being represented, I guess via OPM, that there wouldn't be a change to the fringe, how it's calculated, and then after the change, finding out that there was, that can be addressed?
I mean, this is a little outside my lane. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I will say, having worked at both OPM and for the General Assembly, the power of the purse is with the General Assembly. The governor recommends the budget, and the General Assembly has the ultimate spending power authority, but the governor ultimately has to sign it. So I think it's about everyone understanding the implications of what's contained in the budget.
So is there a point person or organization that could be held accountable for misrepresenting what the fringe rate calculation was actually going to have an effect on our institution?
I don't think there's anybody, that we can hold accountable in the sense that I think you're talking about. I think it's more about explaining with our partners, and that's how we have to view them. There are funders; they're the ones who allocate resources on behalf of the state. So I think it's about explaining. They thought that they came up with a methodology that was revenue neutral in FY22. There wasn't really any guarantees that it would be revenue neutral into the future. We're saying it wasn't even revenue neutral in 22, and we really want to impress that upon them. So I think that we have to, manage this delicately, because at the end of the day, they are our funders. So, I mean, we can't really sue our funders, right? We have to explain to them why we see things a little bit differently. It's agonizingly dull, going over these spreadsheets with them as we share data back and forth, but it's the work that we have to do to demonstrate to them that we've been uniquely impacted in a way that I don't think other institutions of higher ed have been. And perhaps in the aggregate, all of the systems of higher education, UConn, the UConn Health Center, the CSUs, Charter Oak, and us, maybe in the aggregate, it's revenue neutral. But from where I sit here as the CFO at CT State, it is not revenue neutral for us.
Thank you very much for sharing that information, Carrie. All right, folks, we are going to take a 5-minute bio break. When we return, we're going to start with the councils and committees. Because this is such fun reading, I'm going to go ahead and put that up on screen so that if folks come back ahead of time, you can take a look at that proposal just in case you didn't have the opportunity to do so. Nick, if you could go ahead and start that time for a 5-minute bio break. We'll see everybody back at 2:30.
Al, you're muted.
Thank you. All right, we're going to come back together. Our break is over. And we are going to begin with the councils and committees. So hopefully a few more people will turn their cameras on to let us know that you've returned to the meeting. There we go. Thank you, folks. So we are returning to an issue that we brought up at our September meeting, and we simply ran out of time for. And what I am asking for us to do is to charge several committees today, as well as implement utilization of 2 councils. So these councils are distinctly different from a committee. Committees are defined in our charter, and they are a product, a unidirectional, for the most part, product of the Senate, whereas councils, the 2 councils that I have suggested, are a collaboration between Connecticut State Community College Administration and the Senate. So I would like to begin by asking if there is a motion to charge a Budget and Finance Committee. And this would, I've shared the charges with you in the document, but this committee would permit a smaller group of people to focus on budget and finance related issues and really become experts in understanding the issues and then providing detailed information to the Senate as we continue to address the budget issues that we've heard thus far.
So moved, Al. This is Roberta.
Thank you. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Ariel.
Thank you, Ariel. Discussion. Is there any discussion? Are there? Stephen.
Sorry, I'm just wondering on what like the average time commitment you would see something like this running.
I love the time commitment question. So one of the things that the Executive Council has been doing in collaboration with administration is trying to nail down estimated hours. And as we've done that, we have projected approximately 6 hours in an academic year preserved or dedicated for committee assignments. So, you know, all of the committees are going to have a different requirement. It will, assuming we are able to execute these committees and councils, it will require folks to be judicious in how they use their time, but we have provided up to 6 hours.
Oh, I think it's 9.
Not 9 hours. Thank you. 9 hours for committee service. Stephen.
Clarification, per semester or academic year?
So it's for 9 meetings, Alan, because we have 9 meetings. You know, what we tried to do as we were figuring things out is what does it take? And the formula and the hours will be shared with you in the next week to 10 days. We have presented it to administration. You know, we've gone through our first iteration. So it's for each meeting. It also includes a time allotment in preparing for each meeting, for attending each meeting. But for committee service in particular, Nick, you're saying it was 9 hours for committee service. Thank you.
But was that per semester or per year? That was the question.
Well, it's for 9 meetings, Seth. It's for the academic year.
9 hours per year, meaning 4.5 hours per semester.
For committee service, not for all CTs, not for governance, but there's an allotment.
I'm just trying to be clear. So if we were to serve on the budget committee and work with administration to learn more about the budget, just to be clear, we're saying it'd be 4.5 hours over the whole semester. That
We're
doesn't seem
saying-
like enough time.
Okay, and we will be soliciting feedback on the hour allotments in the next week to 10 days. You could argue that budget and finance might not be enough, but should it be the same? You know, committee service, should it be all weighed the same? Is the HR and administration, you know, is that going to differ? And how do we ferret out something that is a formula that can be applied? That'll be one of the challenges as we turn our attention to that issue, as opposed to what we're asking now is, would it be beneficial to have a small group who can focus on budget and finance to really become the experts and focus on these issues? John?
So I guess maybe the way I see this working would be that, you know, a small group of people focused on finance would, you know, come to a meeting like this one and hear concerns and issues that are raised, and then topics that might directly deal with that, and then have a meeting between this Senate and next Senate meeting where they could get together, think through those processes and issues, and then bring them back to the next Senate with opinion on them and maybe a suggestion based on their experience and expertise.
I agree, and possibly working with members of administration in more detail in between meetings too, right? Seth?
Yeah, I mean, that's the part I think is going to take the most time, is would be reviewing the budgets, getting our, you know, asking questions of administration, and just understanding the budgets is going to take a lot more time than I think 4.5 hours over a semester. I mean, you could have 2 meetings that would take that much time if you're really digging into the numbers.
And the question that's before us now is, do we want to try to do this work? You know, does it make sense to have a small group of people who are trying to do it in more detail and discover more information and questions and posit solutions if possible, as opposed to trying to ferret everything out in our larger group meetings? There's no suggestion that we have settled on a formula yet. That is not being suggested, and that information will be coming to you at our before our next meeting. So any other questions, or are we ready to vote? Any further discussion?
Can I say something?
Sure.
I think that we're talking about here way more than 18 hours per year. It's 9 hours to meet with the Senate, 9 hours to meet with the administrators.
Angelo, you're absolutely right. And I was only answering the question about a particular committee.
Right.
That wasn't the whole formula, and lots more
Right.
information, as well as the formula will be shared with you soon.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. John?
Well, the only other thing that I thought about mentioning was that, you know, if there's a budget team or committee doing work that they can present to the Senate, it also might reduce some of the time that we need to spend in debating during the Senate itself, you know, which could potentially make our meetings a little bit more manageable.
Well, that is actually the hope for all of these committees and the council, is to do exactly that. So thank you. All right, folks, any further discussion? All those in favor of charging a budget and finance committee, please raise your hand. All those in favor of a budget and finance committee, please raise your hand. This is really hopeful. Thank you, folks. John, do we have stability yet?
Yeah, 36.
Oh,
No,
I just saw
37.
37. Very good. All right, 37 support. Thank you. Go
Sorry, I
ahead.
took mine down too fast.
That's all right. We got you. Okay, go ahead and take your hands down. Three more hands.
My hand is stuck. My screen is frozen.
Okay, well, we will not count your hand. Seth, your hand's still up, my friend. Seth and John, we're not going to count either of you. All of those opposed, anyone opposed, please raise your hand. We're not counting John. Anyone opposed? There's no opposition. Any abstentions? Any abstentions? No abstention. The motion passes without objection. Thank you, folks. Moving on to the next most exciting committee that we have. This is actually a committee that I probably get the most disconcerting emails over, and that is our meeting management and bylaws. As we've already acknowledged today, we were able to take care of our charter in the spring semester, but we did not attempt our bylaws, and we need a bylaws committee. So I am asking for a bylaws committee to address meeting logistics and participation. John, is that a motion? No. Okay.
No, this is my WebEx is freaking out. I'm gonna have to jump out.
Okay.
This is Roberta. This is Roberta. I move that we create and establish I lost it, bylaws committee.
This is Lisa, and I second.
Lisa, you seconded, was that right?
Correct.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor of charging a bylaws committee, please raise your hand. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
$35.
Excellent. Thank you very much. If you could go ahead and put your hands down. Just three more hands. Three folks. Now we have two. We've got one more person with their hand up. I'm going to ask that we, does anybody oppose any opposition to a bylaws committee? Any opposition? No opposition. Any abstentions? Any abstentions? Very good. The motion passes without objection. The next committee that I'm going to ask for, and we will utilize as needed, is a committee on administration, HR, and staffing. This is all of these committees are a response to the concerns that were raised at our September meeting. And there were a number of issues raised about staffing and hiring, as well as our HR process. So is there a motion to charge an administration, human resources, and staffing committee?
This is Alan Ballinger. I make such a motion.
So moved. Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Sandy,
Stephen.
I'll second it. Vitale?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sandy. Any discussion? I'm going to get radical here, folks, and I'm going to ask if there are any objections or abstentions to charging this committee.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hit that.
I know I changed the process on you because I'm really looking, I'm reading the room, Lisa.
I missed, can I just ask a little bit more what their charge is? What are they doing?
Well, the charge I shared with you in the council and committee, and what they will work on is to ensure fair and equitable hiring, as well as hiring that happens in a timely manner with administration.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Are there any objections or abstentions? Are there any objections or abstentions to the administration committee? We are clawing back so much time. Betty, are you objecting or abstaining, Betty?
Abstaining, please.
An abstention. Thank you, ma'am. Any other objections or abstentions? So the motion passes with one abstention. For the bookstore, boy, you know, at our September meeting, we heard a lot of concerns about the various ways that the bookstore, that there were book related and bookstore issues. And I am asking for a committee to investigate those concerns and make a recommendation to Senate.
I will make that motion. This is Garcia. And I want to be on the committee, and I want to haul witnesses and have sworn testimony and depositions.
Second that,
I
Angela.
second that. This is Bonnie Sullivan.
Okay, so we have a motion by Miguel and a second by Angelo, but Bonnie is providing enthusiastic support. I am going to again ask if there are any objections or abstentions to the bookstore committee. Are there any objections or abstentions to charging the bookstore committee? Are you an objection or abstention, Bonnie?
No, I enthusiastically second that. So no, my hand should have gone down. I apologize.
Thank you, ma'am. Hannah?
Could we possibly add in open resource to that committee? Open resource.
Well, this committee focuses on the problems that students had in being able to secure their bookstore-based books.
I'm aware, but what I'm saying, I think there's a lot of open resource material that is available and not systematically looked at. It would be fun if that could be added in.
So, but that, I understand the desire and the purpose that OER serves, but this committee is actually looking at solving the bookstore related problems that were identified for fall semester. So OER doesn't make sense to add them to this particular charge. So did I see a hand? Miguel?
Yeah, just on that point, I mean, I think you're both things can be accomplished. Elle, I think you're largely right. My understanding for what you're proposing is to take a look at the bookstore issues, figure out functionality, figure out operational processes that make sense for faculty, that will work for our students, that will work for the bookstore and all of that. Having said that, Hannah, I think your point is well taken. And, the libraries lead the charge on OER, but I think, and, I'm working with faculty and all of that, but I think there is room, for example, where we could perhaps talk to the bookstore about having, some sort of OER information, notification, something like that. So I think it can be incorporated as part of the deliberations. But there's also, and as Nicola put in the chat, there's an OER committee for the system as well. So I think that it'll be part of the mix without being a part of the charge specifically.
Thank you. Michelle Nye.
Right, yes, I'm a veteran and I also run the veteran club here at Norwalk. And I'm on many committees, or I would volunteer on this committee, but I'm kind of on too many at this point. But I would like to make sure that veterans are represented we are having a lot of problems. I hear from veterans that go to the bookstore and are not able to get their books. They're leaving frustrated. Then they try to explain things at the business office, but it's kind of not going over there. So there's definitely a process issue happening. I've been working closely last semester with Dean Tony on this, and he's been wonderful. However, the same thing happened to a veteran student again. I don't know how many it's affecting. I just know that the club president is vocal about it. So I would like to make sure that there's veteran representation, that even if we came in to say what we needed to say, or I can bring a statement forward to make sure that this committee is aware, because I think that's pretty important that veterans are represented, as they're really struggling with the bookstore.
So the folks who will serve on that have certainly heard you as you've articulated this, and they can make sure that it is a consideration.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Angelo?
Well, I like to support what the person just spoke. I like also to say I don't think just a process issue. We have been dealing at Middlesex for I don't know for how many years with errors after errors at the local bookstore, and I'm really surprised it's not the bookstore itself that doesn't try to fix the problem. They are fully aware of the problems. I don't know if it's about training of the personnel, no idea. But the fact that we have to step in to fix this problem and they don't do it themselves, that's really worrisome to me. I mean, I had a student who just started her course now because she only got her books 2 weeks ago. Can you imagine that?
And yeah, you're right, Angelo, and we will add, the folks just heard about this and they can certainly add that as one of the factors to consider. So folks, I'm going to ask, are there any objections? Are there any objections or abstentions to the bookstore committee? So the bookstore committee is charged without abstention or objection. So now I'm bringing to you two different councils. I'm going to start with the Council of Faculty. Councils are a significantly different beast. They are not simply the purview of Senate. They are a combination. I forgot elections. What do you mean I forgot elections, Nick? Oh, the election committee. Thank you. I did forget the election committee. I take that back, folks. We are finally moving to the election committee. Is that what you were going to say?
That was my question, yes.
Thank you. Thank you both. I'm just so excited to move things along here.
This is Roberta. I would like to move to establish a statewide elections committee.
Thank you. And I have documented their work in the charge. Yep. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second Cullinane.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any objections or abstentions to an elections committee for CT State Senate? Very good. We also have an elections committee. Are there any other committees before I go to councils?
Nope, you're good.
All right, very good. Thank you, folks. So the councils are a different kind of, a different mechanism for us to use. I am asking for a council of faculty who will be represented by the 12 elected faculty senators. They will meet with Provost Brown on a regular basis, and the agenda will be set by both administration as well as the Council of Faculty. We will have between 12 and 14 senators serving, recognizing that we might need to draw from the at-large representatives in order to fill gaps, whether they are related to DEI or discipline or some other gap that we identify. But this council is a joint effort between administration and the Senate that seeks to, and this is the important part, they will really seek to identify and discuss issues before they are implemented. So much of what we have done today, we are reacting or responding because we didn't have the opportunity for in-depth consultation. And these councils will provide for that. So the Council of Faculty will meet with Provost Brown, whereas the second council will be a council of staff and student affairs and student experiences. And this council is a little bit more difficult to get folks to serve, not difficult to get them to serve, but how we select folks or how folks opt in. Again, we need about 12 to 14 people participating, but rather than faculty here, we need folks with various experience areas. So we need it to be a well-rounded council that represents the student experience outside of the classroom. We have worked already with CT State administration, and they are interested in this collaboration. So is there a motion to implement either of these councils?
I'll make that motion.
John, for both or for one?
For both.
For both.
Second, Roberta.
I'll second.
We have a second by Roberta and a third by Peter. And Bonnie, I see your hand.
I have a question in regards to the Council of Faculty. Limiting it just to faculty in regards to academic affairs when there are professional staff that also work in the capacity to ensure the design of faculty, the curriculum of courses being created. I think it would also behoove us to have professional staff that work in that capacity to also to continue to support that work that is being presented in that arena. So just limiting it to faculty, I think that we minimize some of the great support staff that we have that are working in conjunction with faculty to make curriculum the best that it can be. So I would recommend that we kind of refocus that so that way it can be a little bit more inclusive to that kind of work.
And the CT State administration will be bringing some of their folks to the table for those kinds of considerations. Not to negate your comment, but just to say that that they will be bringing some folks to the table, Bonnie.
But that's where my objection is. I don't think it should be during just particular conversations. It's in all of those conversations that the feedback of those critical people can be extremely beneficial and give a different perspective to the different learning modalities and strategies and methodologies in how we're going to be teaching moving forward. That it shouldn't be just at particular conversations. It should be weaved in at all times so that we were not going back and spending more time kind of deliberating, is this the right method? Does our institution, our technology all feed into it and support it? But we're doing that at the ground level so that we can be successful moving forward.
Thank you. Miguel?
Yeah, I have a similar concern and thought as Bonnie. And I'll just mention two quick things. One is in terms of, like, for example, the final exam schedule, which is directly on point with faculty, but that's something where enrollment services can play a role in the registration, all of the registrar, all the, like, I feel like there are student services that are absolutely integrally involved with a number of academic affairs issues. And I would also say that there are some of us on the staff side who are in the academic affairs division, like libraries. And for example, librarians would be excluded from serving on this council, but we teach information literacy. We are the information literacy experts in CT State. And to exclude us from teaching and conversations like that, I think is problematic. So I would like to see a little more flexibility in terms of the membership of that particular council. And similarly, on the opposite side, I think faculty should also be weighing in on student affairs and experiences and services. I think there's the need for crossover both ways.
Thank you. Sarah and then John.
This follows up. To what extent are these two councils, their charge being to explicitly follow up on the list that was made coming out of that September meeting? Because I noticed there's a number of items such as concerns about the syllabus, concerns about the grading scales, concerns about the SDCs that are not specifically listed in committees. So I just want to make sure that some of those more specific items will be followed up on, because I know that was a concern of my campus and maybe concerns of other campuses as well.
So the intent, Sarah, was explicitly to begin by addressing the concerns that were raised at the September meeting. But remember, they didn't stop at the September meeting. We had a review period that lasted for 3 weeks after that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So the beginning point is for each of the councils, to address that backlog of issues. However, I do want to point out you included SDCs in that, and we are still grappling with how to effectively respond to the issues that start to bleed between the nuanced issues that are curriculum Congress as well as Senate. So I don't know that we have a strong handle on how some of those mutual issues are going to ferret out yet. And you might have noticed that in the document proposal, I said that 2 committees might be forthcoming, one on governance, which explicitly looks at the relationship between the two, but also how governance is playing out on the campuses.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yes, ma'am. John.
Yeah, I just want to say that I recognize what Bonnie and Miguel are saying about having other input. And I think that the Senate body is that other input, because this committee will do work and maybe, tackle the initial questions and review and make suggestions. But all of that information and ideas that they develop would come back to this body anyway, and would still have the participation of the full Senate body in those perspectives. This is a way to kind of move some of the work that would be taking place in this large group meeting to a smaller group meeting first, to make it a little bit smoother and easier.
Thank you, John. Felicia. Felicia? Oh, did you put your hand down?
You hear me? Sorry, I put my hand down but forgot to unmute myself.
Yes, ma'am. We do hear you.
I just wanted to point out, I agree with Bonnie. I think something that people don't always take into consideration is advanced manufacturing. Much of our team is comprised of staff members. However, these are teaching staff members. They're not always in a faculty role, but they play the same role. So I don't want to eliminate that voice from I believe it's 8 or 10 campuses that have this program. So the word faculty automatically eliminates more than half of us. I want to say about 75% of the people who work for this program specifically. And it's hard to justify having people who work in engineering speak for us when we are machinists. And there's a different way that our curriculum needs to be managed. So I just wanted to point that out there.
Thank you. Nicola, and then Alan.
Sorry, my computer's doing crazy things. Elle, please correct me if I'm mistaken, but I don't think that this council is dealing with curricular issues, correct? This is dealing more with just trying to, curricular issues has to go through curricular Congress. So that's not something that this body is going to be dealing with, correct?
Right. The idea of the Council of Faculty is to address classroom-based and faculty purview issues. So the intent is for this to be faculty focused and meeting with the provost on those types of issues. That is the intent.
And I also think that it's important to note that it was requested that this committee or this council, excuse me, stays under a certain number. Am I correct also in that, Elle?
Yeah, so there is, it is very much a negotiation because the council is a collaboration. We are trying to keep the size smaller so that we can have more in-depth conversations. And to John's point, these issues, it doesn't alleviate, it doesn't circumvent Senate. It allows for an initial set of conversations with some experts to delve deeper, and then those issues will still come before Senate. So every issue will still have a full review. So those faculty who are interested in the student experiences issues will still have the opportunity to weigh in, and vice versa. Alan and then Hannah.
Thanks, Elle. Well, I guess the size of the committee issue that, because I was going to say we have 38 senators. So I would say each campus could choose, say, their faculty representative to the faculty council. It could be the at-large member, and choose their staff representative to the staff council, and that's 12. And then the third person would then have the opportunity to volunteer if it was somebody from student services who wanted to be on the faculty council, then they would have that option, have that opportunity. Or if it's a faculty member wanted to be involved in the staff committee. That would expand the committees to potentially 19.
Right, and we've and administration has already asked for them to be smaller than that, which is why, yeah. Now you're starting to see how hard this was to put together.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that would be my suggestion to maybe, as we're talking about the difference between 14 and 19. I don't know that that's that big a difference. Maybe the administration would reconsider.
It was there was actually an initial ask of 6. And we were able to get it to 12 to 14. So, and we're also trying to create something, well, I don't want to go down that line, but yeah, we're already at that upper end of what the agreement, where we are. Hannah.
Thank you.
I just, this is so interesting, but I also see this logistical nightmare in front of me a little bit in terms of reporting back and who serves on it and how do we rotate and make sure everybody gets their voice in and so on and so forth. So I wonder if some of these things should also be regulated by the bylaws, terms, term of service, is this for 1 year, for 2 years, and so on and so forth. So I wonder if this could also be something that the bylaws address.
That's a good point. We can add that to the issue of the bylaws committee.
But at this point, there's no bylaws, right? So how to move forward on that?
That's true. Right now, I have made a proposal. You are right. We have a motion and a second to accept the proposals as I've drafted them. So we'll vote on that. However, we can do that. We can also ask that this be included in the considerations of the bylaws committee. So I think we can do both right now. Miguel, can you articulate the comment that you put in the chat? Because I actually want to respond, and the recording doesn't capture the chats.
Sure. Your comment got me thinking about how the request was initially 6. If we're talking about a group to just do like initial discussions and try to hammer out some early issues and then bring it back to the Senate anyway for discussion, where everybody's going to be here, then why not do, instead of having like 12 and 12, why not do representatives? Elect a small group to meet with administration, hash these things out, and bring it back for a larger discussion. I mean, when you get to 12, it's pretty big, and we're already having discussions. So if we're looking for something that's sort of nimble, for lack of a better term, why not go for like 5 or 6, and 5 or 6 faculty for that council, 5 or 6 staff, and those are representatives of the larger group, which we'll come back and discuss. So that was I'm just wondering if that would work.
So one of the things that we were trying to balance in our discussions was also making sure that we've heard a lot of criticisms about governance, that small campuses are excluded, or that in Curriculum Congress that there are the larger campuses have 2 votes and the smaller campuses have none. So we did land on one representative from each campus, trying to just be fair with that kind of representation. However, we were also looking, when we moved to looking at the student experience or the student affairs and experience, we were trying to think about breadth-wise who needs to be represented, and it very quickly went well beyond 6. If you think about GPAs and library, financial aid, enrollment services, it really grew quite quickly to just having one representative from each of those areas for that council. And I'm not saying that this is how it will be in perpetuity, folks. However, I am asking for, at least in the beginning, if we can get this council up and running a few times and then provide feedback, then perhaps it can become part of our bylaws or the elections committee. So I don't see any more hands. We do have a motion to implement both councils as presented. All of those in favor, please raise your hand now. All of those in favor of implementing the councils as presented, please raise your hands now. John, is our vote stable yet?
32.
32.
Point of clarification, as is per and as discussed, right? With no other considerations to the recommendations, correct? Is that what you're saying that the vote is?
Yes,
Okay.
as proposed in the document. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, can we revote? I thought with that discussed. Can we do that over again?
I'm sorry, Seth?
Sorry, I didn't realize that was, I didn't catch that. I didn't realize it didn't factor in the discussion about the representation for faculty and staff. So that's fine. I'll take my vote back.
Okay, so we'll change it to 31.
If this was paper and pencil, Seth, you'd have a problem, but it's Microsoft Word, so it's an easy delete.
All of folks, we need you to lower your hands. Lower your hands, please. We've got 3 hands up, 2. All right.
All right, hold on.
There we go. All of those opposed? All of those opposed?
I see 6.
Thank you. And abstentions? Bonnie, are you abstaining? Or there we go. No abstentions. The motion prevails 31-6. Thank you, folks. All right. We are moving along. So I'm now bringing to your attention several issues that we need to start doing differently or better. In accordance with our charter, all of our action should be reduced to a resolution. And reducing items to resolution really prevents us from being agile and responding to the complexity of situations. But also there are many issues that the Senate can ask either the president or the executive council to act on our behalf between meetings. So I am asking for the Senate to add to the bylaws committee addressing reduction to resolution. I am asking the Senate to add the charge to the bylaws committee to reviewing and proposing a solution to reduction to resolution. Because right now our actions are inconsistent with our charter and it is not manageable. So is there a motion to charge the bylaws committee with reviewing reduction to resolution and proposing an alternate solution?
Motion.
Thank you, Seth. Is there a second?
Second.
Who was that?
Who is that? Nolly.
Thank you, Norley. Any discussion? Alan?
Just a little bit further clarification, please.
So, Alan, if we take the resolutions that were before us today, it's difficult to edit them on the fly, right? So that's one issue. But the harder issue is if you look at our charter, all of the actions that we take, anything that the Senate says we want to act on or that we disagree with, or that we want to send up to administration, the vote of no confidence, for example, technically that should be reduced to a resolution and then that resolution sent to CT state administration. Who's going to write that resolution? If we make a decision as a body, like just today during discussion after a motion, who writes that? How long does it take to approve it? On the other hand, if we can agree to a process where the Senate asks the president, me, the Senate president, to work with CT state administration to respond to a problem, then I can have a meeting, I can have an email conversation, and it doesn't stop us from reporting back, but neither does a resolution ensure that we report back. So what I'm asking for is for the Senate to be more flexible in how we respond to our needs. Does that answer your question?
I think. All right. I mean, are you saying that if we vote on something in principle, that you're saying that we're authorizing a resolution to be drafted after the meeting, or to be edited after the meeting, or you're saying, because I mean, for example, the vote of no confidence, we had a resolution that we endorsed.
We did, but then it's a continuing conversation about that. But also not everything comes as a resolution. Many things come to us as an agenda item that don't need to be reduced to a resolution to be effectively resolved. And those are the issues that I'm really pointing to, is the issues that don't come to us in the form of a resolution, or that don't need to be reduced to a resolution, that can be a managed outcome.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Betty and then Seth. Betty, did you put your hand down?
I did. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. Thank you. Seth?
I guess I just want to say it a different way to Alan, perhaps. Not to say that we still won't and can't pass resolutions, and we will. It's just that every time we vote on something, that vote doesn't have to then turn into a resolution. I think that might be another way of articulating it.
Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
Seeing no other hands, and we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of asking the bylaws committee to review and provide a solution, please raise your hand. All those in favor, please raise your hand. John, do we have stability in voting yet?
33.
Thank you. Go ahead and lower your hands, folks. Go ahead and lower your hands. We have 2 hands that remain up, folks. We have 1 more hand. Any objection, any objections? Any objections? No objections. Any abstentions? Any abstentions? The motion passes without objection. So this next issue is communication mechanisms. I just want to put this on the record that we are working to establish official communications with the Curriculum Congress. This is a requirement of our charter, and we have begun informal discussions and conversations, which is how we came to the DEI task force, but we are working to formalize those communications. Another element that we are working on is how CT State Senate will communicate with the college community. We're looking right now at how we can utilize announcements, but we are also relying on all of you to articulate to your campuses, not just the formal work that we do, but the work that we do between meetings in bringing issues to one another's attention and to advocating for issues. So we're formalizing and acknowledging the level of work and the commitment that it takes by senators to communicate with their campuses. So the communication piece doesn't require a motion. It is just something that I wanted to bring to your attention, and that we will hopefully soon be challenged with actually writing the announcements from Senate, as well as sharing those with the Connecticut State Community College community. So those are some things that we'll be working on in the next couple of months with Curriculum Congress. Folks, we have 8 minutes for 5 or 6 new business items. We have 8 minutes for the remaining new business items. So I am going to give the floor to, are we back to Asantwa? I believe the floor is yours. Asantwa?
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Let's see, where Connecticut State, the HCC resolution on Connecticut State college meetings.
Yes. So in the last September meeting, none of the HCC representatives were able to attend because there was no virtual option available. And so we wrote a resolution addressing this. And I will admit, I voted for an in-person meeting when we thought the meeting was going to be in August. However, it ended up being in September, and by then I'm teaching class on Friday, so I was unable to attend a meeting that was over an hour away. But the other concern was that we had a member who is not licensed, who doesn't have a driver, and I don't think making an in-person meeting took those kind of considerations, those things into consideration, as well as we did have at least one senator who objected to the in-person meeting when we met in May. Vocally objected, and we still voted, and I don't think an in-person meeting should be voted on by majority. It would have to be unanimous. So what my resolve is that if we are going to have another in-person meeting, you cannot do this without making sure that there is a virtual option for those who cannot attend, because we all agreed to a virtual Senate, not an in-person Senate.
Asantwa, is there a motion?
Yes, so the motion is for CT State Senate meetings to be virtual, or always provide a virtual option.
I second the motion. Crystal
Who's-
Wiggins.
All right, Norley? Norley, you're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I want to support this motion as well because our college, Quinebaug Valley Community College, also vote to support these motions, so the meetings can be held in virtual instead of in person, unless we have a unanimous vote on it that everyone can attend.
Thank you, sir. Bonnie and then Crystal.
I'd like to recommend that it be two separate items to vote on. Just because I think it just needs to be clear how we deal with accessibility and inclusion in that aspect. If we're going to vote on, that we make a decision, whether it is going to be in person or not. And if it is going to be in person, that there be a viable solution. I think there's two different cases here in regards to this, to make sure that we have clarity in regards to how we're going to move forward and provide the best support for all of our senators.
Thank you. Crystal?
I would just like to mention that this resolution was brought to the Northwestern Campus Pro Senate, and they voted in support of this resolution.
Thank you. Alan?
Thanks. I'm looking at the resolution, and it's very clear. It says that the meeting modality will remain virtual unless there is a guarantee by the Executive Council that if there is a necessity to change modality, all senators will be considered by always providing a virtual option. So I don't think there's a necessity to have two separate motions. I think both those points are covered in the motion. And I just want to make note that the motion does not include the requirement that a decision to change modality be unanimous, and I would oppose that if that were the case.
I'm sorry, Alan, the resolution does not say that the decision would be unanimous?
That's correct. The motion, I mean, we're voting on what Housatonic presented. And I'm looking at that. It was posted for review. It doesn't say anything about it needing to be unanimous.
Okay, so the resolution is not consistent with the motion.
I believe I paraphrased what the motion was. I'm sorry.
Okay, so my understanding, because the resolution says a motion that the meeting modality, so my understanding was that we were voting on what was presented in writing. So I guess I would like clarification on that. Thanks.
Yes, we're voting on what's in writing. I'm sorry, I just didn't have the file open to say it verbatim.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if you are amending your motion, we need the second to agree to that.
I agree. It's Crystal, the second.
Okay, thank you. So we are removing unanimous from that.
Yes, I can read the motion as is stated on the agenda request. I'm sorry.
Thank you. That would be helpful.
Okay. So the motion that the meeting modality for Connecticut State Community College Senate will remain virtual unless there's a guarantee by the Executive Council that there is a necessity to change modality, and all senators will be considered by always providing a virtual option.
Brian, did you catch all that?
It's on the, if you can go into the SharePoint.
It's all paraphrased as best as I can. Let's keep going.
Miguel.
I just have one question. I don't disagree with the intent of the motion, but I do have a question about the word necessity. I don't know what the necessity would be to change modality, but I could see there being a desire to change the modality for a reason. Would the maker of the motion be open to a change of that word to say desire versus necessity?
So are you saying that if there is a desire to change modality instead of saying if there's a necessity? I could change that.
Yeah, like if we wanted to have a meeting back at the Gelston House or whatever, again, because people enjoyed it or whatever, but with a provision that there's a virtual option, there's no necessity to do that, but there might be a desire. So I'm just wondering, I just feel like that might more accurately reflect what could potentially happen.
I'm willing to change that.
Crystal, you're amenable?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? I think the one thing that I want folks to consider is that we did have overwhelming support for this, that there wasn't a request for a virtual option at the time, but there were then subsequent requests. There was a request for a virtual option, which was not possible at this location. We did 2 site surveys, spoke with management extensively. Even cell phone reception at the location was insufficient for us to be able to no, actually, they didn't have substantial Wi-Fi in order to support this meeting. We did 2 site surveys to try to accommodate that request, and it didn't work. So, you know, there were calls after this body voted with 1 objection for the executive council to change how this body voted. And I think it is a slippery slope that we should all consider, that in hindsight, or without calling another meeting, without having a vote, asking the executive body, or more explicitly, the president of the Senate, to overturn a vote of this body. I think it is a slippery slope. I also don't know that we had an expectation or that all of our meetings would be virtual after spring semester. There was a clear statement that it would be virtual for spring, but we haven't made those determinations yet. And so however you vote now will have a lingering and long-lasting impact on the possibility for how we meet in the future.
We
Alan?
are at time, just so if we want to have a vote, I don't know if we have to hold that vote first or vote to extend our time for today.
Okay, thank you. Alan, let's try to get a comment on this, vote on this issue, and then we'll vote to either table the additional items or extend our time. Alan, the floor is yours.
Thanks. I just wanted to say I support this resolution, but I also supported your decision to go ahead. I think you were 100% right that neither you nor the executive council had the authority to overturn a decision by the entire Senate. So I think you made the right decision. I support that, and I support this now going forward.
Very good. Thank you, sir. All right, seeing no other hands, Brian, can you read the motion?
How many notes I was taking, I cannot. I made the adjustments to the notes as far as what was changed, but not read the whole motion out.
Okay. Asantwa, can you?
Yes, I can read it one more time.
As amended.
As
Right.
amended. It
Thank
says,
you, ma'am.
the motion that the meeting modality for Connecticut State Community College Senate will remain virtual unless there's a guarantee by the Executive Council that there is a desire to change modality, I think that there's a desire to change modality, all senators, that if there's a desire, to change modality, all senators will be considered by always providing a virtual option.
Thank you. All those in favor of the resolution? All those in favor of the resolution, please vote now. John, do we have stability?
Still moving around. Hold on.
Okay.
Let's see. It's 30. 33.
Very good. Thank you. Folks, if you could put your hands down. We have 2 hands remaining. We have 2 hands remaining. All those opposed to this resolution? All those opposed? We have one. Thank you. Any abstentions? We have one abstention, so the motion prevails. All right. We have additional items. We have 4 additional items of new business. Is there a motion to extend our meeting time to address these remaining issues? Hannah?
I would like to make a motion to table those. I don't know about you. We've had a 3-hour meeting. Some of us have been on a curriculum meeting this morning, so we've been in meetings now for 5 hours. One of the resolutions is in regard to CPOS. We had discussions about this today, so the motion might need overhaul at any point. So I would rather make a motion to table those until the next meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second that. My hand's hurt.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
Hey, Elle, it's fair. I feel like it's really important that we get the CT State Housatonic Science faculty position at least looked at today, so that can get a move on. That's something that's really important that affects our students. The longer we table that, the longer we have to wait on that. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Seth?
I'd also like to extend the meeting for the Connecticut State Naugatuck Valley resolution, which is time sensitive in terms of trying to get management to reverse the increase of the course caps.
Okay, thank you. Asantwa?
I would like to extend because I have a Housatonic science faculty member present who wants to speak towards the statement, and I don't know if she'll be available the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, all of those. Oh, Angelo?
Extend it as well.
Okay, so we have a motion to table. Hannah?
Can I modify the motion then to postpone, to table the CPOS related? I understand what everybody's saying, but could I modify my motion to table the CPOS related proposal?
Who seconded the original motion?
I did.
Brian, are you willing to accept the modification?
Sure, let's keep rolling.
Okay, are there any objections? Just to try to move this along, folks, are there any objections to tabling the CPOS resolution?
I didn't get a chance to speak to this.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alan.
Is it all right? Thanks.
Yes, sir. My apologies.
So this is, it doesn't need to be a long discussion at all. This is a FAC resolution calling for a joint committee between FAC and the Board of Regents Academic Student Affairs Committee to address CPOS issues. So I think lending our support to this doesn't require a long discussion and is also of a timely manner.
Okay. I think that's helpful. Folks can consider that in your vote.
I can withdraw my motion. I think I read the temperature in the room. It's fine.
Okay, Brian, are you okay with that withdraw?
Yep.
All right, very good. Is there a motion to extend this meeting to address the items of new business?
Are we putting a time in there, or are we just saying extend?
We are just saying extend to address the items of new business. Currently, you can make a motion.
So moved.
Thank you.
Midnight.
Cullinane.
Kristen moved, and Peter, did I see you? Yes, thank you. Extended. Are there any objections to extending our time? I see one objection. 2, if you object to the motion, please raise your hand now. If you object to the motion, please raise your hand now.
We have 4.
Okay, We have 4 objections. The motion carries. The next item of new business before the Senate is the Connecticut State Housatonic Science faculty position. Asantwa, this is your resolution.
Yes, I have Rachel Payne, which is a science faculty from Housatonic, here to speak on this issue.
Rachel, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Trying to be brief here and summarizing that this concern is focused on 4 credit science lab courses only. Okay, so just to be clear, it's not on online classes or anything else, but just that our 4 credit science classes deserve to have lab experiments that are in person as opposed to virtual, online, or at home, so that we ensure that our students who are typically taking 1,000 level and 2,000 level science classes to advance to 4-year schools, etc., that they're getting the muscle memory, that they're engaging their 5 senses in order to have these outstanding experiences that we've earned respect and clout for with our 4-year schools. We've worked hard and come a long way to push back against the stigma that our science courses are less than equivalencies. And so speaking of equivalencies, because many of us were able to teach online, virtual, and at-home labs during the pandemic, we realized how non-equivalent those courses were in that style. For example, General Biology 1 with labs from home, we could only afford about 5 lab experiences for students to do at home, whereas in person, we do 12. And so it's just not the same course. And so what's happening is across the 12 campuses, with some colleagues teaching a variety of modalities in the same course, we're creating a lack of equivalency with each other. And I think we all know the students are flocking to online for a variety of reasons. But for a 4 credit science course, it's really just not equivalent. It's not helpful. A lot of times it's not safe. For example, to have students growing bacteria at home. We had one instance where a young lady who took completely online microbiology then could not advance in nursing school. So she had to remediate for a year in order to go backtrack and then get into nursing school, etc. So I think you get the gist. I don't want to keep you. I'm here for questions.
Thank you, Rachel. Nicola, and then Peter.
Hey, Rachel, how are you today? Thanks for hanging out for 3 hours plus. Real quick question. So with the resolution, the resolution's just asking to make sure that we always have an in-person as an option? Is that just the sum of the resolution versus us following what was actually laid out in the course outlines?
This is asking that we require that all 4 credit lab sciences, so it's listed in the course catalog as a 4 credit course that has a lab, that is taught traditional or hybrid.
Okay, that's, yeah, the document that I'm reading doesn't have it laid out that way. So that's why I wanted that clarification. Because the resolution that I'm reading basically just says, motion that an in-person laboratory experience will always be an option for Connecticut State students taking laboratory courses, not stating that that is the only modality that a lab should be taken.
Okay, then that language would have to be changed to reflect that all 4 credit science lab courses should have their labs and frankly their exams in person. So either we would be covered if it were trad or hybrid.
So it should be like modified to have assessments and labs required to be in person.
I like that. Although it's tricky, right? If you use the word assessment then as an online quiz, that's low stakes and 5 points. Is that not an assessment, right? So maybe we just want to fight for the, protecting these students' lab experiences.
Thank you, Nick. Peter, and then Kirsten and Sarah.
Okay, Rachel, when you first mentioned this, you talked about having experiments in person. And really, some of the classes, I would say they're more experiences than experiments. So as long as we don't use the specific word experiments, I think that's fine. I appreciate what you're saying. The other issue comes with transferability. And this is where microbiology has become particularly problematic, where for nursing school, it's a question of what each individual school seems to accept in terms of actual lab experiences. So I support your resolution, but I think it just may need to be clarified or separated into the transferability versus the experience itself.
Thank you, Peter. Kristen?
Hi, everybody. It's Kirsten.
Did it again. I'm
So
sorry.
no, it's okay. So Rachel, I'm glad that you're here, and I just want to let everybody know that this resolution that Rachel is bringing up actually does align with the approved course outcomes for the most part, for majors anyways. For the 4-credit major science courses, the bio 121, anatomy and physiology 1 and 2, microbiology, we actually have for course modality checked off that they would be on ground or hybrid, specifying an online lecture and an on ground lab. What also it indicates on the course approved outcomes is the terms when those courses can be offered, which is fall, spring, and summer, but not winter. So there is a task force that is a team with Dean David DiMatteo of science faculty who are meeting to discuss these differences, because we have a transparency issue in terms of, you know, not being clear about the modalities in which we're teaching. The transferability, again, that comes into play where it becomes a disservice to our students who are transferring, not knowing that their transfer school is not going to accept a course that had an online lab option that they took. So I just wanted to say that in a way, this is kind of out there already, and what Rachel is indicating does support the approved course outcomes. The problem has been that there is a statement, and I put this in the comments on the documents that were posted from our last month's meeting, that NECHI had a statement requiring that we have, you know, variety and whatnot. Well, the course approved outcomes does have the variety there. It doesn't mean that we have to just, you know, offer every single option to check the box. And yet I am finding that this is a loophole that is being used to have faculty teach the modalities that they want, even though it's not specific to the catalog description. And that may also play into some of the issues that we're having with the degree works and things of that nature. So thank you.
Thank you. Elle, can I respond?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I agree with you that this is aligned with the APRC work that we did. Unfortunately, it's not aligned with what we're already seeing on the spring 2024 schedule, where many of the 4-credit science lab courses are offered in variety. And not only that, this is a discussion that's consistently coming up in the School of Math and Science, or is it the School of Science and Math now, where there just seems to be this recurrent theme of what about online labs? What about virtual labs? Some would say there might even feel like a little bit of a push on us to move toward being online, which would feel like a step backward as opposed to forward.
Thank you, Rachel. Sarah Siglio and then Crystal.
Thank you. I just wondered what the next step for this would be. As a liberal arts and science program coordinator who deals with transfer, I am personally very supportive of this. I'm just kind of looking at it and seeing, well, this is going to need to go through curriculum, like course modality and issues like that are part of the curriculum sheet. So it would probably have to go SDC SAC curriculum. So I'm wondering if this is in our purview and what the actual outcome of approving this would be. And this isn't to disagree with what you're trying to do, just concern about what effect the resolution would have coming from us.
So Sarah, we can pass a resolution, or we can even pass a motion in support that moves alongside anything that the curriculum Congress might do. But the other piece of this that I want to emphasize is that this actually aligns with the approved course outlines. That is something that is not being adhered to right now. Right, that is the problem. I see a number of you pointing at me. So it draws attention to something that should be being done and is not.
Okay, just as long as we're not creating curriculum in this body, which might be problematic.
Right. Can I interject, Al? Is that okay?
Yep.
Right. So we had that discussion of where do we send it from here. And although there was no clear answer from many leaders who we've talked to about this, the argument or kind of the root of the where does this go from here seemed to stem from, is modality truly curricular? So in other words, is the how you teach it, is that curricular? Because it's not the master course outline, et cetera. So I guess we could debate on that, but nobody wants to at 4 o'clock on a Friday. But certainly I think, Elle, I think you've got it right on the nail on the head that we're not adhering to what we already said we would do back when faculty made this decision. Thank you.
Okay, we have Crystal, Nick, and then Roberta.
I actually was bringing up similar thoughts that Sarah just mentioned. I was wondering if this was the proper channel and what does it mean if we do pass this. I am the STEM department chair at my campus, and I know my faculty actually are in support of this position, but I just wanted to have some clarification. So thank you, Al, for your clarification on what our vote actually means.
And Nicola?
No, I meant to take it down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. Just supporting the fact that this is a we're not creating that curricular, it's a governance. They're not doing what is supposed to be done.
Right. And Roberta is our final comment before we will move to a vote.
I will withdraw then. I didn't know if we were ready to go. Thank you.
We are, however, I am going to ask that the motion be clearly stated because we had several versions. Asantwa, is your motion all 4 credit lab sciences must have the lab in person?
Yeah, yes, that's the motion.
Thank
I
you.
believe that's what Rachel stated.
And who was our second? Peter was our second. Okay, all those in favor of supporting this resolution and the discussion as shared, because we will have to share the nuances of this discussion with Curriculum Congress as well as administration. Really happy we have a video right now, folks.
$24.
24?
24.
Okay. Oh,
And
there's 25.
Change it, then it's going to 25.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Now it's at 27.
And now it's at 27. Okay.
Now it's back down to 25.
All right, folks, one more time. Please raise your hand if you are voting to support this. Please raise your hand if you are voting to support this.
Now we're at 30.
We're at 30. We're going to take 30 and run. We're taking 30. Please lower your hands. Still have a few things ahead of us, folks. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Brian, are you opposed?
All right.
Thank you. Any opposition? No opposition. Any abstentions? We have 2 abstentions. Thank you, folks. The motion carries. All right, we're moving on to the Gateway resolution on CPOS. Alan, I believe that is yours.
Yes, thanks. So we had an extensive discussion already on CPOS. The motion to suspend the use of CPOS was withdrawn, but there was a commitment from administration to have an ongoing, effort to address the issues that were emerging. The Faculty Advisory Committee passed a resolution requesting that the Board of Regents Academic Student Affairs Committee form a joint committee with them to look at, the impact of CPOS and address the issues that are affecting our students. Gateway endorsed that resolution, and I think if this body endorsed that resolution, it would be added gravitas to a substantive way of fixing these problems. So my colleague Kalina Sasankar is here. She's the chair of the FAC. Kalina, if you have a minute or two to share anything else. Not hearing you. No, still not hearing you. Well, how did I do in summarizing it? I think that's, yeah. So
can you use the chat?
Alan, this is, you're asking for support between a joint committee between FAC and the BOR's ASA committees. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? President Maduko.
Yeah, it's been about 3 hours since I said something, so thank you so much. I'm not complaining. I guess the only question I have, not to intervene regarding the motion, because I can't, between a joint collaboration between ASA at the BOR and FAC. I guess my only question as the institutional president is, from a governance standpoint, what autonomy do those two bodies have on the institution? Is it simply they'll do a review, they'll lend their resources, they'll put some solutions on the table to bring back to the institution for review by both administration and this body? Like, that's the only question I have in terms of what would that look like? So they say, hey, you guys simply do X, Y, and Z. Do we even have to follow that, right? Or does it still have to come back to this governance body? At least
you can text me if you want to. I'm sorry, excuse me, President Maduka.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
If Kalina is not able to speak, she can put something in the chat, or you can text me. I can read it.
She has put a few things in the chat, Ellen.
Okay.
So she said if the work group was created, we'd ask Senate for folks to join. And then she said, and the reason for the FAC resolution is to compare effects with other institutions. And I think she's still typing. And that's a really great point, Dr. Meduco. Obviously.
So while Kalina is putting things in the chat, are there other questions, comments, thoughts, concerns? Are there other issues folks would like to raise? Hannah, I see your hand.
It probably can only have advisory function, but I would be very happy to volunteer to participate in that conversation.
I mean, I think President Meduco, my thought is the same, that this would be, we're looking for problem solvers, right? And so the more eyes on the problem, the more discussion, maybe we can find quicker solutions and bring those back to administration.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of endorsing the resolution, which also calls for Senate members serving on this committee, please raise your hand. John, do we have vote stability?
Yeah, 27.
Okay, thank you. We have 27 in support. Please lower your hands. Three more. Two hands remain. All those opposed? Any opposition? Any opposition? None opposed. Any abstentions? Abstentions. We have 2 abstentions. So the motion carries. Colina, can you take that back as the FAC and then let us know how and when you will solicit Senate volunteers to participate? Thank you. Thank you. All right, moving on to another issue, Alan, from you, and that is the final exam schedule. Folks, again, I would just want to emphasize that it is not Gateway, nor is it Alan in particular, who has cornered the market on this issue. Many of our institutions and our colleagues brought this to our attention. Alan simply sent the first email. So Alan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Even since last Friday when I submitted this, I know there's been some developments, but a lot of campuses did express concerns about the final exams schedule. The 2 primary concerns are these. One, for several classes, not all, but for several classes, the start time for final exams is over an hour and a half, in some cases almost 2 hours prior to the start time for the class. And this could present some serious issues with students with family and work commitments who may have carved out a time for their classes. The other is that there are now, we've learned that 27% of our students are taking classes at more than one campus. And so, I think that right now the solution, and maybe President Meduco would be able to speak to this, is to allow each campus to adjust its final exam schedule. But the only issue with that is that then students who are at multiple campuses that may face differing schedules could have conflicts. So and I guess the third issue is that some campuses are happy with the present final exam schedule. It's something that they've already adopted. So at least 2 campuses. So I guess I have 2 asks. One would be that if each campus is allowed to adjust its final exam schedule, that the academic deans and all faculty at every campus be instructed to allow scheduling accommodations for students who may be affected by work, family, or being at multiple campuses. And the second would be that administration work with the various campuses on developing a viable final exam schedule for the spring semester. So
Alan?
Right now, I guess the question is there a plan to address some of these discrepancies?
So Alan, I want to say that I think that it is these kinds of issues that we will be able to have timely conversations with, utilizing the councils that we agreed to employ today. And there is a willingness already expressed by administration to discuss this issue.
Okay.
That doesn't negate that we might act on it, or we could simply reinforce that we're sending this issue for spring semester, that we're sending the issue to council, should we be able to identify a time prior to spring semester, because that's not clear yet either.
So I'm looking in the chat, Elle. It says, I have adjuncts that work on more than one campus that cannot make their own finals due to not enough time between the final exam times on 2 different campuses. And same thing with students. Another in the chat, same thing with students. So I think that given the fact that it may be too late to address the schedule for this semester, and that there may be a viable workout for the spring, I would just ask CT State and the academic deans and faculty to all be willing to be flexible with, and provide workouts, provide accommodations for faculty or students that are affected.
Alan, would you consider making a motion to ask me as Senate President to work with administration to identify a process that is more student oriented for spring semester?
So moved.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure we'll be coming back to this recording. Is there a second?
Yes, Roberta.
Thank you, Roberta. Any further discussion?
Al, it's Nick, real quick. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're willing to do the work. I just feel that you are, of course, you are more than welcome to do the work. I just feel that you do enough. Do you think that this would actually be something that would be better, at least a starting point for the council of faculty that we created today?
That is my goal.
Okay.
Yeah, that is my goal, Nick. But there's a question about how quickly we can get that up and operational.
Could we just suspend that final schedule for the semester with the intention of having a final semester schedule in place for the spring semester? I like the idea of a final schedule. I just, I think that it may have just come out a little prematurely.
So the motion was actually recognized. We didn't talk about what we were doing for this semester. The motion actually just moved it to begin to put that on administration's radar and to begin working with them. Because what Alan said is he recognized that it may be too late for this semester, but we need to consider it for spring. Okay.
I think, Al, I did consider making another formal motion that we call upon CT State to provide scheduling flexibility for faculty and students who are affected by the final exam schedule as it exists, and the fact that campuses may develop their own final schedule that could be in conflict with one another.
I missed the latter part of your motion,
Well,
Alan.
it's not really, it wasn't a motion. It was, I was thinking a motion. I'm looking in the chat and it says campus deans voted to keep it as is for the fall semester.
So I think that, you know, part of the complexity here is needing to make it clear to the campus deans that this is a problem for our students and for our faculty, right?
Yep.
And at one point we had more people on the call. We're really starting to lose folks, and I recognize that. But I don't think that the campus deans voting to keep it as is, they made that vote. We can still ask for CT State to support more scheduling flexibility for faculty and staff, right? Those two things are not mutually exclusive.
Right.
Any additional discussion?
So right now there's simply a motion. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'd like to hear from President Viduko.
Yeah, I mean,
Thanks.
right. Add this to the list of stuff that's on fire. If we make this about the student as an institution, you know, respect faculty, respect the deans, respect their scheduling staff. If we make this about the student, we as an institution have a responsibility to hold our students harmless. You know, I've only worked for multi-campus institutions, and I know in Texas and I think Florida, and I'm not trying to open the testing center nuclear bomb, but you know, we had testing centers across our campuses. So faculty literally submitted their exams at testing center, and the testing center had you know, had staff that did, you know, they served as the proctors and followed the instructions of the faculty to the T, unless it was a practical or hands-on type of examination or assessment where obviously the instructor or record had to do that. I just think we need to leveraging, you know, some of the councils you've put together today to at least take a look at this and say, are you telling me we can't come up with a workaround, right? To support these students, to help support the faculty that literally can't be at 3 places at once. I believe it requires that. Provost Brown, if you're still with us in the way, because I want to fall asleep too, no fault of anyone here. It's just been a long day. Like, what are your thoughts? I'm not trying to overstep my boundary in terms of academic and student affairs. Yeah, people are dropping like flies. It might just be us on the call that's left.
I'm on the call and I would like to just say something. I don't know if I'm cutting anyone off because I'm
Actually,
on the phone now. I had to move.
Michelle, are you a sitting senator?
I am.
Okay, then the floor is yours.
Thank you. My concern is I agree, do the students no harm. And then also I have to say, do patients no harm because I'm representing nursing. So with the students, we have many of our students that have booked plane tickets already to go spend time with family and friends because of when we made our exam date. We create that in the spring. So we already covered spring with the dates we were given. We present it right away so students can do their things. Many of our students are from foreign countries, and this is concrete. When I say do patients no harm, that means that exams have to be very, very secure. So when you have, for example, 116 students, you can't have cross information. Oh, you took it this day, what was on it, and things in that nature. So all students test together. And we really make a big effort in that all students have to test together because that's test security, integrity, and taking it further, do no patients any harm. So we have an obligation to the communities that we serve, that our students who graduate, our students who are taking exams, really go through the most rigorous, secure method. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. So thank you for listening.
Provost Brown, are you there? I thought I saw you go off mute.
Yes, I am.
I apologize because I've been in and out, and I had another meeting that I needed to jump in to as well. But I do think, based off of what I've heard most recently, it seems like we can pull a group together to really talk through solutions. That is where I am at this point in time. I also, if Mike is on, I know he's been involved in some of the more deeper conversations as well, but I'm not sure if he's still online or not.
Mike
I think
Hudson.
he's not. He is.
Is he back on? Mike Stefanos is back on because he did have to leave earlier. Mike, are you there?
He's not showing up.
Right. So I want to point out that one of the challenges, one of the things that we learned at the September meeting is there are 800, I believe it was 826 different start times at our various campuses. So we recognize that this is a complex issue. What I would like to do, folks, is ask you to vote on the motion. We have agreement from the provost and President Maduco that Connecticut State is willing to work with us. I think that it is stronger if it comes from a motion from the Senate. So I'm going to call the question and ask for a vote. I'm not going to call the question. That would require a whole nother vote. I'm going to ask for a vote on the motion. If you support working with the Senate Executive Council, working with Connecticut State Administration to express the concerns of Senate, please vote in favor of the motion now.
At 26.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead and lower your hands. Any more hands to go? Michelle, which campus are you from?
I'm on the Norwalk campus, and I thank you. And I just wanted to add one thing really quick. In the past, we've tried to accommodate some students where they're like, oh, I just need another week to study. It has been disastrous. And it's been in my practice from when I worked at other schools. It's just a disaster. When you say something in the beginning, you kind of have to stick with it. If you had 2 students, that's easier to control. But again, when I'm looking at large quantities, 120, it becomes out of control, and then student outcomes are not served because now you have people more concerned and frantic about that than being able to study as they should be able to without other things factored in that really it shouldn't be for them to worry about.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
that
you.
last input.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. Where are we?
You were going to collect no votes. Did you calculate those?
We still have 3 hands up that are going down. Unless the 3 votes up. Are the 3 votes up for no? Are you opposing this motion? We have 1 hand up now.
No, I do have a concern though. And it's not in regards to like the motion or anything. I think Norwalk accidentally has 4 voting people.
Yeah,
With
I've
Hannah and
already.
Michelle.
Yep, I've identified that, Stephen, and we will be
Okay.
addressing it offline. Thank you. The Executive Council is furiously texting, trying to identify that problem. So we will be resolving that offline. Thank you. Is there any opposition to this motion? Is there any opposition? Stephen, your hand is up. Is that opposition? No, sir. Okay, thank you. Any opposition? Okay, any abstentions? Any abstentions? There are no objections and no abstentions. John, how many voted in support?
26.
Okay, thank you.
Right, that's that, yep.
All right. The final item is the Connecticut State Resolution on course caps and hiding courses at Naugatuck Valley. Seth, you brought this issue, so the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. So I'm just going to read the resolution really quickly.
Do you want me to? Oh, no, I don't have it. Never mind. Go ahead.
Sure. Whereas Connecticut State Naugatuck Valley began the course schedule process for spring in a collaborative manner with faculty and relevant stakeholders. Whereas after the courses had been submitted to the college, an email was sent from Naugatuck Valley Management to department chairs on October 13th, changing numerous aspects of the spring schedule without faculty input. Whereas decisions were made arbitrarily by Naugatuck Valley managers to increase course caps to 30 for online sections, which is out of compliance with the state of Connecticut State maximum course caps. Whereas that decision increases course sizes and faculty workload by over 36% in some instances. Whereas the decision also violates the AFT collective bargaining agreement that states unequivocally online courses must have the same cap as on ground courses. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. Whereas also the decision by Naugatuck Valley managers to hide courses and not assign them to faculty has resulted in faculty not meeting their contractual obligations, the faculty workload, pitting faculty against each other, and in an attempt to eliminate adjunct roles. Whereas students will begin registering for courses on October 30th, and the unilateral increase of course caps is a pressing matter as it directly and negatively impacts students, faculty, and the reputation of our institution. And whereas the actions taken by Naugatuck Valley management are further evidence of the destruction and harm to our students, faculty, and college as a whole by the short-sighted and disastrous deficit mitigation strategies. Therefore resolved, Connecticut State Senate demands that Connecticut State Naugatuck Valley managers and Connecticut State managers reverse the mandates in the October 13th email and lower online course caps to match on-ground and long-standing numbers, and ensure that courses are not hidden / unassigned from faculty so that contractual workload will be met. So the impetus for our Senate taking this up is Naugatuck Valley doesn't currently have a functioning shared governance, campus governance. So they're frankly, unfortunately, their campus leaders weren't able to, in a timely way, take this up. Thus, we have our Senate to take it up on their behalf. The email that was sent by, needless to say, that was sent by the dean in Naugatuck Valley was met by much concern by the department chairs and then the faculty that found out about it later. And clearly the decisions to increase class caps as a deficit mitigation strategy are just short-sighted and wrong. And I think it's important that our Senate take a stand against it. It's true this is happening on other campuses, and frankly, other campuses need to take similar stands. That's obviously my personal opinion, but I think it's an important step for our Senate to take today in support of our faculty at Naugatuck Valley. And I think, and I'll just add that I think after passing the resolution, I think our Senate should basically give the resolution to Naugatuck Valley managers and Connecticut State managers and ask them to respond in writing by early next week, so that we can get a response from them. But first thing first, I want us to pass a resolution.
So Seth, you are asking, how is what you are asking for different from what the earlier resolution is?
Sure. So this resolution is asking for management to reverse the decision that they made and to then get back to us to confirm if they're going to do so or not. That would be the difference. We're explicitly asking management to reverse the decision that they made because we understand the decision as being harmful to our students and our faculty. The other resolution wasn't asking for that.
Okay. There's a motion on the table.
I'll second it.
Who was that?
Oh, Lisa Boyko.
Thank you, Lisa. Any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of Connecticut State Senate endorsing this resolution, please raise your hands.
Looks like we have 20.
20 in support, and the vote is stable, John?
Yep. Well,
Okay, thank
it's
you.
down at 19, but yeah.
We'll go with 20. Hopefully somebody is not voting twice. Please lower your hands. Please lower your hands. 2 more people. All those opposed? Any opposition? Any opposition? Okay, there's no opposition. Any abstentions? Any abstentions?
Just 6 abstentions.
Okay, so 20-6, John?
Correct.
The motion carries.
Thank you, everybody. And Elle, if you could just ask when you communicate with management to ask them to provide something in writing, in terms of their response early next week would be ideal.
I will forward the resolution early next week. Well, it will be Monday, Seth, to be clear. It will be Monday. They are aware of the issue, but it is unlikely in the next 34 minutes that I will get that squared away. All right, folks. There is one additional announcement to make, and that is the APP process. The APP process that was described in an announcement a couple of weeks ago. A call for volunteers will be forthcoming next week. And additionally, senators can talk with folks on their campus if they want to serve. This will be a joint committee between administration and both governance bodies. Curriculum Congress and the Senate will also be forwarding the names of folks who want to participate in that process. Provost Brown, is there anything you want to add there?
No, Elle, you've covered it well. We're just looking to continue to practice shared governance. We will, as a collective, spend time studying our data as it relates to CT State. And I just want to reiterate, as we said in the meeting with Congress this morning, basically, as it stated in, I think it was the October 2nd joint memo from President Maduko office and my office as well, that this was something that was requested by the Board of Regents through the Chancellor's office, and we are engaging in this particular exercise, wanting to make sure though that we are thoughtful and intentional in involving the right voices as we go through the process.
Thank you very much. Folks, 1 hour beyond the time that we set for this meeting really demonstrates our need to utilize councils and committees more effectively. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Bonnie.
I said it
Several
first.
seconds.
Second.
Ballinger made the motion.
I'm gonna say everybody second that. I don't even hear anything.
Oh my God.
So,
Thank you,
Counts.
folks.
Great
If I could
meeting,
get the
Elle. Thank
executive
you.
council, if I
Thank
could
you
get
so
the
much.
executive council to stay on the call, I'm going to stop the recording, but we have a little follow-up to do.
Great
Thank
meeting, Elle.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good
Thank you,
weekend.
everyone.
thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thanks again.